I'm just happy to be in the presence of beauty, of love, of brilliance, of harmony and wisdom and knowledge. And so I know that this night is just a widening of the wisdom and knowledge that is already within us. I bless Reverend James, absolutely, for being the wisdom and knowledge, for opening up his heart, mind, and soul, and to be that beautiful open vessel as God. And just that I know that whatever is coming through him this night, I know that each one of us is absolutely catching and living on a higher level than ever before. So I bless each and every one of us this night, and all everyone on the way, everybody online, and this class, for how we came together and have come together, how we walk together in love as God, as peace and harmony, as joy and laughter, being the uplifting, beneficial presence. I am grateful. And so I name this night great, grand, and ever so glorious, filled with deep loving. And for this and so much more, I am grateful. I release it into beyond the activity of the law, so grateful and thankful. It is done, as we all together claim, and so it is. So it is.
What?
Is it on?
Nope, we never changed it.
No, because I put it on the thing so it doesn't make noise.
So that's why no one's hearing it.
How's that? Now you can scream,
Oh
Helen.
my God. Wow.
Oh, that's because it's high.
Sorry, Helen.
Well, sorry.
Here.
Okay, moving right along. So Mariana, what was your treatment about? So last night, you were in class last night, right?
Yes.
Was all about treatment. It was an intense class. It was an amazing class. But I got very clear on something, which is this concept of, and David was in class too, obviously, was what are we pointing at when we're treating? So what were you just pointing at? What was the purpose? Actually, don't answer that. What was her treatment about?
Acknowledging the love between all of us and in this class and in this room.
Okay. Okay. What'd you get?
The primary intention was her blessing other people. That's what I got out of this.
Okay. Karen?
I think it was all about just recognizing that we're here to widen our wisdom and be the love and the vessel for what we're learning.
Okay, great. David?
I think that it was recognizing that this group gathered together tends to create this perfect energy, this beautiful sense of openness and sharing the wisdom and the knowing, so that this class is already that.
Okay. Helen?
Yeah, and just one thing. Now I hear you clearly, but I don't hear the rest of the class as well.
I was kind of mumbling there, Helen. Sorry about that.
But you weren't the only one. not that anybody else was mumbling, but just that I couldn't hear most of you. So the treatment for me was about recognizing the allness of spirit. And then for me, it was about recognizing all of us and recognizing you opening up and bringing your wisdom and essence to the class and sharing of yourself. And it was funny because I had a moment, and it may be just like a preferential thing for me, but I went, oh, am I supposed to recognize you in my treatment? Like I literally thought that, and I went, oh, because I don't know if I do that in my treatments, if I recognize or say specific people unless it's to a specific person. So that was just an interesting point of view for me. And so that's what I got from it. And then
I was going to talk to you about that, but privately. How you never recognize me. I will do that.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. Terry?
I didn't hear it until I got earphones, so I didn't hear it at all.
Could you also do something with your camera? Because you're sitting all the way down on the way left hand. Yeah, just Much better, Terry. Much better. Okay. Okay. So now, Mariana. So what were you pointing at? What was the one belief? Because go ahead, tell me yours.
That wisdom and knowledge is flowing, that love is flowing. For me, I felt just real joy about being in the presence
Okay.
of everyone. And all of a sudden, I just felt so happy to be with everyone and to lift in consciousness together. Just all of a sudden, that's what took me.
Okay,
The
good.
gratitude.
The feeling, yes, I got that feeling. And I think they all got that. What you need to start doing, all of you, is pointing your treatments. Know what you're talking about. Don't figure it out as you're talking, which that you did a little bit of, Maria, which you were always, it was always very loving. The loving part of it and the beautiful part of it and all that. But what Karen said.
I'm sorry, I'm going to interject for a second. There is some weird feedback.
It's somebody.
I just muted Terry.
It was Terry trying to, I think, probably move his computer. So what Karen said is what the treatment wanted to be about. Really, the treatment wanted to be about, which is the idea of, and you said it, the inner wisdom and what's coming through all of us. But concise, specific, to the point, okay? You've got to get yourself to the emotion of it, of course, to the feeling of it by knowing the truth. But remember, treatment is about the truth. Just tell the truth. What's the truth here? And if we float our way through all the different machinations, who was the congregant practitioner on Sunday?
Me.
Oh, you were. Way too long. The treatment you gave on stage went on forever. And it was like this. It was just a little too meandering, trying to, it was good. It was fine, but it was just really long. And people it's long because it's not pointed enough. Just point your treatments more. Know what you're up here to do and nail it. Okay?
It's kind of like what you talked about, whatever, 2 Sundays ago, where it's like the difference between being potential versus purpose. Like it's like there's two
possible.
Yeah, what was it?
Probable.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
I want everyone to be giving treatments that are done. And when you're done, the audience is like, yeah! As opposed to, wow, that was, well, okay.
Like it's possible I'm floating all over. But
Yeah. Less floating, more nailing. There you go. That's called right there. Don't float, nail. Okay.
That's the date I want to know.
Don't float around me, nail me. Right. Okay. So let me go. I want to go over last week's class a little bit. Thank you to John. John did a great job. Great job. So Helen, good insights. You had good insights on church as a business. And one of the things, I took some of the takeaways that you all had so that we can just touch on them a bit, which is Helen's was knowing your audience, right? And she talked about small sound bites even before John did. So, knowing your audience, know who you're standing in front of, okay? And you talked about inspiration, of course. Karen Frost isn't here, but so I won't go into hers. Sharon, I loved when you said my life is a business. That was really profound because I know you. That's how you live your life. So you are speaking from a place of who you are, and you let us know that. Then you talked about not-for-profit, which was great. Because remember, business, you got to know business. Just because you're in a not-for-profit doesn't mean that a not-for-profit isn't profitable. And if you're in a not-for-profit and you have a consciousness, the mindset that a not-for-profit is about not being profitable, are you in trouble? I mean, a not-for-profit should have you making over $100,000 a year as the chairperson of the not-for-profit. That's how it works, right? So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, well said, and really, really, really important to know. Ellen is not here either. But what I experienced is from some of you. Well, Mariana, you're next. So Mariana, you said church as a business is the way I live my life with enthusiasm and power, inspiration and enthusiasm, and all of that's beautiful. And you said church as a business is loving. All of that's beautiful, but it's not accurate. Church is a business, and you got to know the business part of this too. Same thing with Ellen, maybe. Okay? The same thing with Ellen. You know, she did the similar thing. Church is a business. If church is a business, what do you know about business? It's not that it's loving and sweet and I know who I am. None of that. So now you're here. I can go back to you.
So pardon me,
yeah.
So then overall, business first and loving and enthusiasm.
No. Loving and enthusiasm first,
Well, right.
but take that into your business. But you still have to know the business side of it. You have to know what the business side means. So when you guys were getting up talking about church as a business, some of you didn't talk about church as a business. You talked about church from the rather more philosophical side. But as as someone who is in a business of ministry, you have to know the business side. Unless you just want to be a staff minister who doesn't ever have to get involved in that. You know? Okay, where was I? So Karen, we're going to talk more about you later, but you got up to talk about church as a business, and you said, I'm selling me. And you said, entertaining, clear. You said all the things that a minister should know about being concise on Sundays, knowing what they're doing. But you didn't talk about church as a business.
Right.
What does it mean to run a business of a church? And that's really what I was looking for. What does it mean to run a business? Aaron, great job. You got up and talked right about business. You launched right into the business. Business about giving value, right? Yeah, I'll tell you what you said because I sat through them, right? You got up and said, it's about giving value of a service, giving value as a service. And then you said, we're selling transformation. Even before John said it, you said it. We're selling transformation. And then you, even before John said it, you did the whole thing about comparing Apple and Sony, which was great. You sounded like an expert. You got up and you launched right into church as a business, which is what I was looking for. So kudos. And you talked about people wanting to buy it. You're like, what did I say? You know, and you're like, people, go watch it. You should go watch it. It was one of the most powerful times I've ever experienced you as a speaker.
It's like I feel.
And don't
this
forget
is
to
her
put the check
passion.
mark in the plus side.
Like this is where
Yeah.
she lives. Like
Yes,
that's
she's an
how
entrepreneur.
It's like it's so you. Like this is how I can work it. This is what I need to do. This is what I'm selling. You're just so on it because you brought your passion to it, and that's already what you know. It's already you are an expert at it. I think.
And you had a great Joseph Campbell quote, which I didn't write down, but
And you spoke it with conviction.
yeah, no, it was great. And you basically also did something else that I wish all of you would do in this room, which is you asked yourself, you said, people want to buy a service. And then you said, and my job is to ask myself, am I good at delivering that service? You got to know. You have to know how you're doing, right? Embodying what we're doing here. So that was good. David. And David, you did it too. You got up and talked right about money. Church, I love how you were really the most logical. You got up and said, the first thing you said was, well, let's face it, you got to have money to run the church. That was perfect. You got to have money to move forward. And you said, and then you also said, give the people what they want and they will support your vision financially. And then you went into your church, you should not be tax exempt. And I understand that concept. Okay. But I'm not going into it.
That's when I almost stepped in Connie.
Yes, you did. Yeah. And then Karen Mitchell, you got up and talked about checks and balances, debits and credits, which I really appreciated. That you got up and instantly talked about money and how the church runs. Looking at where everything is going and knowing that things come from everywhere, understanding that money is not just what you take in on a Sunday. If it were, none of you would be sitting here. We'd have closed up a long time ago. And you also talked about how it's important that you, as the minister, run the business side of the organization, which is great. And then you said we need to make a conscious choice to apply good business practices, which is absolutely right. So in the end, you know, I've looked at your budgets too, and most of you really don't know how to do budgets. But I have looked at your budgets and budgets that actually make sense. I mean, some people do. But in the end, my job is not really to teach you how to run a church, although I've done my best and I gave you our budgets. And, you know, those of you, Karen and Connie, who've had the opportunity to actually be here watching the church, how it runs, it helps a great deal. Rita and Patrick have had a very successful. Jonathan they could go off and run a church. They ran this one with me. So it is important for you to know, unless you unless you really are just going to be a staff minister, and you know, this is not what I need to do. I don't need to do business. I'm going to just do the other stuff. Okay, so John, by the way, how we described this last night was great. So you guys should watch some of that. I know you have access to those classes. Okay. So John said no one buys logically. They buy emotionally. And then they back it up with logic, right? So they buy emotionally. So there is, let me find it here. There's a gentleman, and for some reason I didn't write down his name. Anyway, who gave a TED Talk lecture, and I've been scouring the TED Talks to watch talks on. That's it. That's it. How'd you know? Terry,
I just mentioned psychic. I'm just kidding.
how did you know that? Seriously, I think it is.
Because that's what that whole talk is.
Yes, good.
What is it called?
How many of you have seen it?
The Power of Why.
I would think most of you have not seen it. Simon Sinek, that's correct.
I mean, they literally teach that. They teach that in a lot of
Renee
universities.
Brown.
Great. Well, we're going to do it here very quickly, shortly and quickly, just to make John's point. So the point is, you don't buy logically, you buy emotionally. So, this is the worst circles ever. Why? How? What? Okay, so there's the model that this guy uses. And what he talks about is you as the person selling, and this is really going to bite you in the butt because you're on the last class of the one thing. This will really bite you in the butt, whether you agree with it or not. But it's you, and it's totally you. So he talks about why people are successful and why they're not. Why companies are successful and why they're not. Why can some people sell themselves brilliantly and others cannot? And yet they both have the same thing to offer. And I love that concept. They both have the same talents. They both have the same knowledge, same information. They have everything together. Why is one person successful and another person isn't? And he talks about the agreed upon process for or recipe for success, which is knowledge about the situation, money, and accessibility to the market. Okay, so if the market's in a good place and you have accessibility to it, and you have all the money you need, and you've got the wisdom and all the know-how, that's what's considered success. And he says now that is not what's considered success. And one of the things he talks about is, and I don't remember the guy's name, the guy that was given a hoard of money to develop airplanes. I mean, he had the money, and he was brilliant, Harvard graduate, had all the brilliant, and had all the minds to work with. And of course, it was at a time in our evolution where everybody wanted that to be something that actually got designed. Of course, I can't even remember his name. None of us know his name. But the Wright brothers, who had no education, no money, they did it. They did it. Why did they do it? Well, because as he talks about here, when you are selling something, you have to be selling it. And most of my programs now say from the inside out. You have to be going from the inside out. So what you're selling, what are you selling? You are selling, what are you selling?
Courses, Sunday service.
Okay, but rather than transformation, let's say that. Let's say transformation. Yeah, really? You didn't say transformation?
Well, that's the why. That should be more.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Nope, that is what you are selling. That's what you are selling. You are selling transformation. How are you going to sell it? Karen, how are you going to sell it?
Let's do the classes and the Sunday service.
Okay, good. So I could just say through your presentation of it, right? In classes and stuff. So we'll just say, yeah, you know what? I'm good with that. Classes, talks, right? Counseling, whatever. Okay. Now the most important part. Why are you doing this? Why? So Sharon, why?
Because I have a passion to help people have the life that they want to have by knowing what I know this teaching provides.
Okay. So for Sharon, it would be passion. Okay. So she has a passion to help people know what she knows. And I would say most of us would have that. Why do you want to be a minister?
I like it.
Not good enough.
All right.
Why? Why do you like it?
It's fun.
Not good enough. Why do you want to be a minister?
I want to live in a better world. And
Ah.
in order to live in a better world, I have to help create that better world.
Live in a better world. Live in a better. That's terrible. You know what he said. Okay, I want to live in a better world. So when you are presenting yourselves as ministers, when you're up there talking, people are not really buying what you're saying. They're buying the reason you're up there saying it. And I've said this forever. They are literally buying into your purpose. They're buying into your cause. They're buying into what you believe. They're buying into what, and I love this is one of the sentences he says, they're buying into the reason you get out of bed in the morning. And you got to ask yourself, why do I get out of bed in the morning? And should anyone care that I did? So that's why, if I say it'll bite you in the butt, it's not okay to not know what your one thing is in this. I don't care about the rest of your life, but in this, in ministry. I don't want anyone leaving this class that doesn't have the passion and the fire in the belly for what they're doing, and maybe you just don't. Really the fire in your belly, not just, oh, it's fun, I like it, it's nice. That doesn't work. That's not good enough for any of you. What is it? I don't have that. To me, this isn't just fun and I like it, it's nice. I have a drive that is insatiable for what I do, which is why the people that follow me, the people that show up on Sundays are in alignment with that because they see that. If they don't want that, they'll go somewhere else. If it's a little too much for them, they'll go to North Hollywood and see Mark, or someone else. Get some practice, get some almost Catholicism. So, and he talks in this about the sales pitch from Apple. So I want to just read this because it's really cool. From the outside in, here's how Apple, he talks about Apple and why Apple is what Apple is and why Dell is what Dell is, So if Apple were marketing Apple computers from the outside in, he says it would sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, easy to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Now, most of us are going to go, no, I have a computer. My computer's good. Or well, and I was for years, PC. So now, sales pitch for Apple. He says, this is the sales pitch for Apple from the inside out. Everything we do challenges the status quo and allows us to think differently. Everything we do taps into an infinite opportunity inside of each one of us to be able to do more and know more and express more. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. And we just happen to make computers. Would you like to see one? Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God, yeah, you're going to open me up? You're going to show me the more? Because they came from their purpose first. And it came out this way. So it went, we make computers, they're beautifully designed. You want to buy one? Hi, I'm a minister. I have classes to teach. Would you like to take one? No. Who are you? No. You come up here. Thank you. My whole existence is about understanding how to live a better life. And I do it in every aspect of my life. And I want to bring that to you. And in doing that, I take classes. In fact, I've become a minister. Just dedicate my life to doing this. Would you like to know about my classes? Yes. As opposed to, I'm here to transform you and I have some classes to do that. Can I get you involved? Do you get the difference?
Yes.
And so that all came from John said, the whole thing about the people don't buy logically, they buy emotionally. Are you emotionally invested in what you are doing? Emotionally invested. Because if you're bored, I'm bored. If you were bored with life, I'm bored. Not only with your life, but with any kind of life you're going to try to sell me. Right? And then this guy said, and this is a great quote, people don't buy what you do. They buy into, I'm sorry, people don't buy what you do. They buy into why you do it. And I can tell you that honestly from this center. The people that come here and stay are buying into what we are doing here, why we do what we do. Why are we doing it? We had a board meeting. Our last board meeting was so exciting. It was so exciting because I think the vision was more clear and passionate and heartfelt than it's ever been. And we all left here going, yeah, oh my God, okay, yeah. So.
And you notice more got done than usual.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot more action items.
Usually we go, here's our action items, and off we go. And this time it was, here's our action items. Oh, most of those are checked off now.
Aren't they? I know, I looked at them, yes. Yeah, because we're excited. And not because of what we're doing, but because of why we're doing it. So, so there's my one thing as we, go back to that book. Why are you doing what you're doing? I mean, that's what's really, really important to me. Why are you guys doing what you're doing?
James, what was the name of the guy from that TED Talk?
Simon Sinek. It's S-I-N-N-E-C. You'll see. As soon as you put TED Talk Simon Sinek spelled anyway, I'm sure it'll come up.
Is it the power of why? Is that?
The power of why. And what was funny was I was on the treadmill and I was like, I'm so tired of listening to Pandora. I'm going to put in TED Talks and just pick one. So I put it in and put Elizabeth Gilbert, since I'm teaching her book. And she started and I went, I already heard that one. And I just happened to see his and it had that drawing. I was like, that might work. So I put the drawing in and he started and I literally was transfixed for 18 minutes. He's not a great speaker, but what he was talking about was great, really great.
Can you spell his last name?
I think it's S-I-N-N-E-C. If you actually just put it on Andrea has their iPhone,
sure.
you'll find it. Yeah.
Yeah, it pops up.
Okay. Let me just continue with John now. So I love what John said about focus on your own progress and win. Focus on what you bring to the journey. One of the things we haven't talked a lot about here is your individuality. As we go through this class, I am critiquing you on how you speak, whether you can get up and give an inspiring talk. I am also critiquing you on, can you teach a class? Can you teach clearly, succinctly? Do you make points? Do I understand you? Can I follow you? Right? So there's minister as speaker, minister as teacher. We will continue with counseling, but when we were doing counseling last year, my whole idea was, do you have a logical mind that follows this in spiritual logic and so clearly that you understand and you can hone in on what's going on for this person and all the while know what is the spiritual truth about what I'm looking at. So they're the things I'm really looking at in terms of where I need to get you by the end of this, which is, what are you two doing? Laughing at each other and texting?
Oh, no, I texted her that I was late and she said,
she just got it?
Yeah.
Just got it, so I answered it.
So they're the things I'm looking at. Minister as speaker, minister as teacher, minister as counselor. But it's also important, minister as businessman or woman, businesswoman, business person. Do you have the wherewithal to launch something? Do you know how to launch something? You may be the greatest speaker in the world and you may have the greatest stuff to offer. And if you don't know how to get it out there, you're dead in the water. And the other part of that is, do you know who you are in terms of what you have to offer? Are you clear? Who are your followers? Who are the people that are literally going to follow what you are teaching, that are going to want to be invested in you? What type of person? And I'm actually going to get into that a little bit more later. And this, really, what is your likability factor? You cannot, you'll have the smallest little following if no one likes you. Actually, you'll have probably no following. If people can't really relate to you and like you, you can even piss them off. But then you better be likable enough to know how to tell them I'm sorry. But are you likable? This is really, really big. You know, and here's the thing. Do you know what your likability factor is? Are you aware that when you walk into a room, people walk the other way? Do you know that people don't resonate with you? Do you recognize it? Do you get it? Because if you do, you can do something about it. If you don't, right? And I was thinking about, do you show that all over the place? Are you willing to recognize that people know who you are, not just because you're telling them who you are. People know who you are because you show up as who you are all over the place, and you'd be shocked at how often who you are shows up in someone's lap without you even talking to them. For instance, an actress came in and auditioned for me. She was brilliant. She sang like a bird, and her reading was great. And she walked out. She left the theater, and I was talking to the casting director and saying, "Oh my God, I love her. Let's call her back for tomorrow." And the person that was walking people in and out came in and went, "My God, what a bitch. My God, she was like so rude outside." And I went, "No, I didn't have that experience with her, but I totally trusted that." And you can't go treating other people one way and not expect that it's going to get back. So,
James.
Yeah.
Everything you said is absolutely true. My question is, some people may have a belief about their own likability, may feel as though I like me. Everybody seems to like me. I seem to resonate with people, and may be going with an illusion or a delusion that they are likable when in fact they may not be. So how does one discover the truth of that?
Proof. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Unless you're delusional. And then I don't know what to tell you. But delusional people generally don't become ministers. At least not here. I mean, the panels pretty much clicked up. We had a guy come in my panels when I was on panels one year, and he came in and he was delusional beyond belief. He didn't realize how abrasive he was. He didn't realize the way he was presenting himself didn't work. And all three of us, you don't talk to the other panel members. And he left, and he had all the right answers. Smart as a whip. He's now a minister 6 years later, and he still is abrasive, interestingly enough. But he was smart. He had every answer. Knew what he was doing. His test was like high score on the test. And when he walked out of the room, I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, obviously I can't flunk him. I mean, that would be really rude. And I turned, and and I think it was Deb Gordon. She went, "We can't pass him. Is anybody feeling like we should pass him?" And I was like, "Actually, I'm not." And we didn't pass him. And it was a huge to-do, because at CSL, it's hard to flunk. It really is. They're so desperate for ministers. Their bar is so low. And we were like, can't do it.
Can we safely assume that here we would be informed if such an issue was the case? In other words, would you have taken one of us aside and said, "I need to talk to you about your likability"?
I think I have talked to every person in the room honestly about what I think. And it will be up to the panel. There will be three: Joe Hooper, Dr. Joe Hooper, Dr. Maureen Hoyt, and Reverend Jonathan Sands. It will be the three of them that will make the decision. No, they're on their cruise.
Oh.
We managed to book it the exact same week, but it was the only time we could all do it. So it will really be those three. Yeah.
I was just going to say, do you think that he realized he was abrasive, or?
Yes,
I mean,
I do, which is why I think he finally passed a couple years later.
so he then maybe gained humility?
Well, he called me and asked me, and I told him. I mean, he hadn't been told by his teacher. He was like, "Well, no one mentioned that to me." I was like, "Well."
Yeah, a lot of times people, they just have their way of justifying their behavior. Because, I had counseled somebody because she was making everybody upset. And she told me, she said, "Sharon, I was telling you you're sarcastic, and I've had people coming and crying. Sharon, I have never, in my opinion, been sarcastic to someone who didn't deserve it."
And there you have it.
Yeah, that is the problem, right? And they just feel justified.
No, absolutely. And and know thyself, right? Really know thyself. And this process, I have been very honest with all of you at the risk of being thought of as an asshole, which a number of you have called me that behind my back, but I've heard it. So I get it. I get it. But you know what? In the end, all of you will thank me because I don't know another teacher that is as honest as I am. And yes, you do. And I tell you exactly what I see. And it's not that I'm absolutely infallible. I'm not wrong, but I'm really good at seeing what I see. You know, and I see it in myself too. I know when I'm an asshole. You know, and Karen tells me all the time too when I. Well, here's your chance. No, we don't. We do such a great, yeah. Anyway, so moving on. So John talked about progress, not perfection, and I got a little nervous about the excitement in the room on that, by everybody's excitement about, yes, it's about progress, not perfection. Okay, but you must be progressing. I don't want to hear, no, it's just about progress. Because most people that get excited about progress, not perfection, are people who don't want perfection, or think it's impossible to attain, or think, I need the time to get good at this. You know what? I don't mind progress, not perfection, but I want to see progression. You must be progressing constantly. Constantly. Because guess what? The universe is constantly evolving. So you better be too. Okay? Being a progressionist, you all talked about. Getting people to buy into the momentum of what's happening. And John talked about what's the problem. What's the problem that we're going to solve? I don't necessarily agree with that line of thinking. Church as a business is having a strategy. This is one of the things John said. And getting people excited about your plan. So again, it's not enough to just have a plan. What is your strategy, which is what the one thing was all about? What is your strategy for making that plan a reality? What ideas do you have? And now, once you have the ideas, as I said on Sunday, people confuse ideas for action. Ideas are not action. Ideas are ideas. Well, how are you going to put those ideas into action? So that's the strategy. You know, and I will say, I have been a slackard a little bit in that department because I generally, for the first so many years of this church, just ran by the sweat of my brow and just went shot from the hip. Now I'm good at that. I'm really good at that. But now I'm realizing I'm good at that. I want to be great without the strategy, without really being clear. What am I doing and why and where am I aiming? It just, I can have very good success, but not the kind of success I want. So, yes.
And so what was your turning point? From then having ideas and then turning into action?
Honestly, well, no, I've always turned the ideas into action, but I haven't had a strategy. I've had too many actions take place so that they don't all culminate sometimes into one success. I have great success here and great success here and great success here, and I'm never exhausted, but I'm very all over the place.
Like you're not focused on the one thing.
Right. And I'll be honest, it was really at the CSL conference, not to give them such kudos, but they did manage to get that guy there. And when he did this whole thing and I got that book and read it, I was like, wow. I told you, he was at the conference. And I swear to God, I texted Kevin during the conference, during his speech. And I went, I guess I'm going to apologize for the last 26 years of our marriage because clearly I've done great things, but I've really made you frustrated. And I do make Kevin frustrated, you know, because I don't strategize. I don't say, okay, let's do the boom, 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 boom. I just go, no, let's just go do it. And I have great success with that, but I know what I want.
Well, and I asked for a reason being that, so in April of 2013 is when I was introduced to you through CPR.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I started coming here. And since then, and then January 2014, I came on your team.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen huge progression from April 2013 until now.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, and because you just changed everything.
Yes, right. Well, that's true.
So that's what I mean. It's like, did you all of a sudden have a conscious decision inside of you then to then switch everything up and then start going in action in a bigger way?
Yes. As soon as I was relieved of a version of this church that no longer fit me, I went into I'm changing it all. Now I'm going to change it to what I want, which is when I brought her on board. And I said, now I want a complete different version of this. And when Karen And when Karen and Ronnie got here, they had great ideas from Chicago. Yeah, so we changed everything up.
So pretty much that was the turning point.
That was a turning point for this center and me wanting to change everything. But again, to strategize and really know where we were going, that's more recent to know that it doesn't mean I have to. And frankly, the strategizing and having concepts of what you're doing and a plan makes it less difficult and gives you more to focus on, and you have less energy to expend. I have more time now for myself. I have more time for the things that inspire me. Those 4 hours a day now of my one thing, that 4 hours where I get to really do the stuff that I love to do, and my writing and my all that stuff. I take don't I? I take 4 hours a day, and by God, do not disturb me. Although today I talked to you a little bit during it, but that's because I had a few things. Yes. So anyway, progress, not perfection, strategize. People buy I love that. People buy transportation. People buy transformation, not information. That is such a big one. For you teaching classes, and the reason why I'm going over this again is because I wanted to apply what John said to church more. People buy transformation, not information. When you teach classes, it's not about the information. It is, but it's more about the how did this affect you, and what can I do to expand that, to make the conversations more exciting. If you just stand there giving them information, first of all, they'll be asleep, and they won't come back. I will say, our Essential Ernest Holmes class has like between 30 and 40 people in it, and every week most of them are there. Yeah, I mean, really. And it's grown, not gone down. It's grown. It's because of the excitement and the passion. And so many of them are so excited to start practitioner course in the fall. And I'm excited to teach it because I'm going to be teaching the new practitioner course so different than I've ever taught it before. First of all, I'm going to use the Emerson's curriculum, which is so much better. So I'm excited.
And they have some real depth of understanding.
Oh,
That's really.
They put me on my guard every week. I mean, really, I never know what and there's I don't want to use this term. There's a gentleman in the room who has had a meth addiction. So last night was all about addiction and addiction and 12-step program. And I was like, this will be a fun night because he's not, this science is new to him and it's very frustrating to him. So it was fascinating. He did well. I thought he did well.
What I will say also is if you are pulled off, you never show.
No, I'm not pulled up, but I'm.
No, but I mean,
Oh, thank
wrong
you.
Word,
No.
wrong term.
Thank you.
If you may take a breath in a moment, you exhale and keep going.
Yes.
Is what I'm
What's the alternative?
saying. Yeah.
And curtain.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
giving you a
No, I know. No. Yeah.
Because you may not be able to see me, but I'm always watching just because
Yes.
everybody I'm in contact with now, I watch them. I mean, I watch people anyway, but because of my intention to deepen so much, I watch everybody.
Good. Well, and you're sitting in your room and we can't see you, but you do see us. So
Yeah,
that's,
and well, I'm writing profusely and I'm noticing, okay, ooh, that was a big question. What's he look like? No, no.
Yeah, these people, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm almost there. Okay, what does it mean to be confident? Erin, what does it mean to be confident? Connie, can you get me some water? Oh, never mind. Oh yeah, would you? This is empty.
I mean, obviously it's an attitude, but it also comes down to many other things that can play into your confidence. How knowledgeable are you on the subject? How much experience have you had in the subject? How much, like John was saying, if you're giving a talk, how many times you practice it? Whatever, there's a lot of things, layers to confidence.
Yes, you hit the answer in there somewhere. You hit it. Yeah, confidence is preparation. You're confident when you're prepared. Your confidence is gone when you're not prepared and you're not sure and you're uncertain and you don't understand the material. There was a great quote last night in Essential Ernest Holmes about something to the effect of, it's the worst thing in the world when someone gets up and tries to teach something they don't understand. And you will have things to go teach that you better ask yourself the questions. You don't think last night I came in here ready for the fact that I was going to be grilled on addiction? And I had to be clear, What do I really believe about addiction? And that story, I was going to say that stupid story, that story about the alcoholic from Essential Ernest Holmes, if you all remember it, remember the alcoholic in the room, and they were, him and Reginald Arnold went off and treated. I knew someone was going to be like, and you know what? Not only did I know it, I gave them the opportunity. I said, all right, what did you all think of that story? And I think the first person said, stupid.
I didn't buy it, they said.
I didn't buy it. And then you saw Gary get upset that they didn't buy it. Because he was like, well, wait, if we're teaching this, then how could we not buy it? You know, so it's that sort of thing.
That was an interesting conversation because, yeah, a lot of people didn't buy it. And it really was a test of, okay, so what are you studying here?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of being here if you're not willing to at least consider what this is saying? And coming from that science of mind perspective, how would you support that?
And by the way, that wasn't me saying that. That was a student saying that. I did not pose that way. I had a whole different take on it. I had a whole different take on it. And I was totally supporting the people that went, that's stupid. I don't buy it. You know? And then our guy with the math pass, you know, he talked about he didn't buy it at all. You know, but then I was able to say to him, and yet you're sober now. You are sober 4 years now. How'd that happen? Well, I had to go through everything. And blah, blah, blah. I said, so isn't it possible that gentleman, drunk as can be, laying on that bed, by the time they treated for him, he was so willing, he was so ready, that it was that moment in time, just like you had. At some point, you had a moment where you were willing and you said, I'm done. And then you made the trajectory and then you just kept going. And that's when he got it. He went, oh. I said, yeah, we don't have to pretend. I mean, we all think that story said he was just unconsolable. He was an addict. He couldn't possibly, and they treated and poof, magic. He's healed. It's about the power of the practitioner and the receptivity of the closet. The receptivity in the closet. Yes.
But he also said, from my memory as well, in the article that he believed in the teaching and he was ready.
Yes.
Yes.
He did.
And so that jumped out at me even
Yes.
when I read it years ago. Yes,
We
yes.
sought him out.
And
That was
he-
the
yeah.
first step.
But he was willing.
He was willing, and he knew it, he believed it, see, and that's everything.
Every client that comes into your room, into your office, every client that comes to you willingly for counseling is at that point. They're at that moment.
Yes.
Every client is ready.
Remember I told you about my client this afternoon?
Yes.
That's the story.
They were
That's
ready.
Exactly the story.
Yeah. And if they're ready, you're there.
Even in the big book, there are quite a few stories, several, I don't know how many, but there's a lot of stories of people who have this brilliant religious experience
Right.
and immediately
Healed.
I know that they were willing, but they immediately, got sober or whatever they were doing. And I thought if he's read the whole big book, he must know some of those things instantly.
He probably sits and says, oh, I don't buy that. But you need to know it.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know it. Whoever sits in front of you, you know, if they come up here on a Sunday morning, they're coming up here because they think something's going to happen. Your job is to make it happen. Where? In your own mind. In your own mind. That's it. So, going on. So then John talked about fear. The rejection, failure. Rejection, don't take it personally. Failure, just feedback, unknown, partner with someone. That's great advice. And I know there's been a lot of issues in this class about, you know, feeling rejected, taking things personally. It is time to let all that shit go. As ministers, you just can't. You just can't. Failure is feedback. That's a great sentence. It's a great sentence. Failure is feedback. And feedback is not to be taken personally. Just isn't. And then what you don't know, partner up with someone. You know, don't pretend you know it. Don't be that person that has to be perfect at everything. You have to be brilliant at everything. That's one of the things I love about John. John knows that he is good at very few things. He'll tell you that. I mean, he can't cook, he can't clean, he doesn't want to. There are things he doesn't do. There's so much that he doesn't do. It's challenging being on vacation with him. Yeah, I don't do that. We don't do that. I don't do that. Oscar and I spend most of our time together because John doesn't do that. And I love that about him because he's clear.
Yeah.
And for instance, when we were on the cruise ships, Kevin loves the Lido deck. And John's like, I don't do the Lido deck.
I don't know what that is.
That's the deck with all the food. But it's like big bars of food. And people sit everywhere and you just go up and eat and it's a great deck. I don't like it either. But John's like, because we were all out dancing and then we were going to the Lido deck and John's like, I'm going to go to my room. And Oscar's the one that said it. He said, John doesn't do the Lido deck. And I was like, what do you mean you don't do the Lido deck? He said, I don't do food that's out. I need to be served at a table, and I just don't do that. And I had ding go off, and I was like, that's why I don't like the Lido deck. I said, I'll go to my room too. So then the entire week on the cruise, John and I went every meal to the restaurant and got served. And Kevin would be like, Jim, do you know how long it takes to eat in that restaurant? I went, and do you have somewhere to be? We're on a ship. We're on a ship looking out at the beautiful Caribbean. Where do you have to be? So John and I would be. Doesn't it? Oh, that's so funny.
And there's the new show. There's the new show.
Love boat, gay style. Oh my God, a love boat for the gays? There you go.
We didn't go to Lido Deck either.
You didn't? Yeah.
No, it's
Because you can be it.
fries up there. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't like buffet.
No,
I don't like planes.
we only went to the
The
restaurant.
only time I went to Lido was to get ice cream at 3 a.m.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Because if you're out dancing forever, then you can go to the Lido deck. Because it's ice cream 24/7. 24 hours a day. If you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're in your room and you go, munchies, go to the Lido deck.
And what does the Lido mean? I mean, like, Lido.
Ask David, he sang on those ships.
I don't know. I did 10 years of a career in cruise ships, and I don't know why they call it Lido deck. It's just, promenade.
I think it's probably Lido means top or something. Lido, top. I only thought that.
Oh, there it is.
You're at the top. Yes, I am a Lido. No. So,
I'll Google it and find it.
okay, let's go to brands. Okay.
Can we take a second around fear?
Yes.
So in your experience, an example of when you have, fear,
Well,
what's your process?
the first talk I gave at Asilomar was like, I had great fear. I mean, I had watched the greats speak on that stage. I mean, people that David Walker, and I watched Jim Golden, and I watched Robert Bitzer. Ernest Holmes spoke at that podium. Biology of Belief, Bruce Lipton, Louise Hay had just spoken. Actually, right before I gave my talk, Louise Hay had just spoken. And so, yeah, I was backstage a little verklempt. I was like, and I remember I was just like, really? And what quelled it was reminding myself that I wasn't giving the talk. The fear was me, my individual self, forgetting I was my universal self. And the minute I did that, I love John's thing about just get the butterflies to fly in formation. That brings my butterflies into formation. And still, then I can go out and do it.
Say that again.
John said, by remembering it's not me, get out of the way. Just go do it. The butterflies, and the passion helps. The butterflies is still energy, just use them. So for me, that's what does it. And I tell all of my students that, and I tell everybody that, anybody who's having a problem. When I see a practitioner, and I've seen it recently, get up on stage to treat and they're shaking and they're fumbling, it's because they think they're giving the treatment. They think they're on stage performing. And if that happens, just tell yourself, you know what? I'm just going to open my mouth, and I know what's coming. I trust what's coming, and that's it. And by the way, preparation gets rid of fear. I mean, I remember when I went out there that day and my notes were on the podium and I had a buzzer, they have a timer. I think you only have 20 minutes. And I had opted to have the choir sing You Can't Stop the Beat from Hairspray, because my talk was You Can't Stop the Beat. So they're singing this whole thing, and I come out and big applause, and I start my talk, and the first part of my talk was something about my personal life, and all of a sudden, first time ever too to really do this, I go off. I just go off about the whole story of my life, and I'm funny, and people are laughing, and I see I have like 2 minutes left. I've given none of my talk. literally none of my talk. I like had 6 pages or 10 pages or probably more because it was written out to the word because I used the 3-dot method back then. I just was like, I'm turning pages trying to get to the end of it, but I still had a great talk, you know. So if you can step into fear and let the universe take it the rest of the way, magic happens.
See, this is the dance, the balance. Because when I'm doing a song and I don't want it to be so rehearsed that it's dry because I just know it. So I just know that song. Every note is exactly the way it's supposed to go. Every word is supposed to be that way. So I prepare, absolutely. And in the moment, I allow myself to be open to inspiration.
Yep.
So for me, it's a combo of openness to spirit, inspiring me in the moment to do something more, something different, something unexpected.
And you have
yet
to.
being prepared
Yes.
with what needs to come across, but without that passionate openness, I don't know.
But one of the reasons why you can be so passionate and so open is because you are so versed in what you're going to do as a singer. You're so clear.
Yeah.
You know,
You
and
have-
same thing.
You have faith in your voice. You have
Yeah.
faith in your ability to sing.
And you know, and so when you know, I have such faith in myself as a speaker. I don't give myself that many notes anymore. I have 3 bullet points. If I have any quotes, they're there so I can, because I don't like to have to memorize my quotes. But I have such faith. I have such confidence as a speaker. I can just go, and I can always bring it back to what I'm talking about because I know the point I'm gonna make. The talk last week was drop the weight. The entire talk was about the essence of waiting. So no matter what I was going to say, it was always going to circle back to waiting. And that's the way you have to construct your talks. And then there's less fear when you're really prepared. And the other part is, of course, there's less fear when you are not trying to be perfect. And here's the, you know, I have worked with John on his speaking, you know, because John's come a long way as a speaker. He really has, because when he started, it was torturous. Connie will tell you that.
In what way?
He couldn't speak. He was not real. It was just very robotic. And John's issue is that he is so prepared, it's robotic. So John's so prepared with what he's saying, it's not real. And you know, it doesn't get real. He's gotten much, much, much better. His job now is to, once you are really prepared, you've got to let go and trust. And he's getting so much better. Last week, that was the best I've ever seen him last week. The best. But then, if you watch did he send you all the video of him on his thing today?
TV show? No.
Did you see it?
No.
It's on Facebook, I think. Well, you're
Oh,
going to know
okay.
on Facebook something pretty interesting. I think John was really scared. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm going to say? Okay. John was so nervous. He was sitting there across from the news anchor, and when the guy said, so a guy's talking to the camera, and John's looking at the guy, and I'm the newscaster, and so he goes, so John Livesey, and he put his hand out, and John didn't even notice him put a hand out. He was like, hi, and he didn't take his hand, and I was like, and it was a black guy, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look so good. And held his hand out, and he doesn't take it. And I haven't seen John ask him if you've noticed that yet, but he was really scared, you know, because he was taking his product, the pitch that he did brilliantly here last week, and he was going to have to talk about children because he had to take, and so it was. I'm sure he felt a little like, okay, how am I really altering this for children? So it is about, are you willing to be prepared, but so prepared that means that, and no one in here is like that really, but be so prepared. None of you have had to go from that type of robotics to opening you up. Most of you, it's really just been about, how do I get you to open up and not have to be on paper, not have to be stuck to your paper.
So
Even when you gave your first talk, Can't Skip the Beat, you actually didn't, because you had the audience right where it's so inspired that then you circled around in the last 2 minutes and pulled it all together.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Absolutely. No. It was a great talk. I would play it for you, but I promise you, I will play you. I will bring it in. Do we have a VCR still here somewhere? Then I don't have it. then I can't show it to you. But I showed the last ministerial class. One of my first.
Karen has a VCR.
Bring it in sometime, and then we'll, or maybe, yeah, if you would, because you should see the talk. Some of the talks I gave in Dr. Walker's class, ministerial class, that I thought were so brilliant, and they weren't.
And I do have one more question.
Yeah, and then Helen has a question. Go ahead.
And thank you. So what is the difference between when you were getting on stage as a Broadway actor to the congregation?
When you're on stage as a Broadway actor, you're playing a role. It's not hard for me to play a role. I'm a really good actor. I can hide behind the role. You can't hide behind. And that's one of the things I've talked to many of you about, and I've talked to you about it, because sometimes I feel like you're playing a role. You're playing the role of the minister. And I want you to just be Mariana. And that's been our struggle for 2 years, right? That's what you and I have been talking about over and over again, right?
And I haven't understood it all yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay, but you understand what I'm saying. That's the difference. If you look like, if someone comes and thinks you're playing a role, there's a minister right now who called me today for some counseling because they took on a staff minister who spoke for them, and the congregation didn't like them. And this minister was saying to me, and I watched the talk when I got back, and she was like nothing like, she just was like playing this role of a minister, and it was uncomfortable. And the congregation was like, we don't like it when you leave. That person didn't work for us. So you can't play a role. You can't play what a minister is supposed to look like. You have to be you.
I think at the beginning of ministerial class, one of the primary things you told us was being authentic was the most important. And I can't agree more. I think that, of course, it's important to have a good talk. Of course, it's good to tell an amazing, story and have great content. But I think that none of it's going to work if you're not authentic.
No, not at all. Helen, did you have a question?
I was just going to say, I think it comes, when Karen was talking about, her preparation and things, for me, it comes down to technique. And I guess it's having enough technique as a solid base. It comes to that mastery thing again of 10,000 hours, where then you've got that jumping off point, and from there you can always bring yourself back because you've got the technique.
Yes, I will say that. You're correct. The technique you're talking about is all the preparation, all the studying you've done means you have the technique. I have an acting technique. I know how to act because I've studied for years and years and years to have a specific type of technique. So you've been studying for the last 2 years, and the technique that I'm giving you, whether you know it or not, is a very Neighborhood Playhouse Sandy Meisner technique, which we're going to do a little exercise too before we get out of this class, not tonight, before we get out of this 2-year course. We will do a Sandy Meisner exercise, because Sandy Meisner, as an acting teacher, one of the great acting teachers, he felt that the biggest thing missing from most people's work was authenticity, spontaneity. People being able to just stand and act, as opposed to my line, your line, my line, your line, my line, my subtext, and then your line. And very often, if you didn't get 2 actors who actually knew how to really be in rapport with one another, it was tough going to watch those plays. My line, your plot, your line. It's like la 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 and my line. But spontaneity and the authenticity that Sandy Meisner taught, 2 years. 2-year course, 1 full year of nothing but repetition. Nothing. You weren't allowed to act. It was just you'd stand facing one another until one of you got something that you wanted to say. And so if I would say, you have beautiful blue eyes, you have to say exactly what I say. You have beautiful blue eyes.
That's what everyone says.
No. You have to say, and that's what would happen. And he'd go, no, say exactly what he just said. So you shouldn't be thinking. You should be only on me. You have beautiful. Here, do it again. Ready? I like your blonde hair.
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 And that went on for a year. A year. We would do that for 10 minutes. He would not stop you. Now, here's what's going on. The words have gone away, and all that's left is what we're feeling. And really feeling about what the other person's saying. Now, in the second year, we were allowed to say this: "I like your blonde hair," because we've graduated. Here's what it would go to now: "I like your blonde hair."
I like your blonde hair.
I like your blonde hair.
I like your blonde hair.
You like my blonde hair?
Yes, I like.
No, you got to now repeat.
Oh, you like my blonde hair?
You like my blonde hair?
You like my blonde
Wait, you like my blonde hair?
You like my blonde hair?
You're an idiot. Yeah, and I could then go to, I don't have blonde hair. So because you that's where you get a year later. And then you've got a year of that. Yeah, and then the third year is the professional year where they actually give you scenes. It's pretty intense.
What do you feel that experience, how did that help you be thereafter? I can't quite get it.
Because I'm on stage, I'm really on stage. I'm really present. And when she's speaking to me, I'm feeling what she's speaking. I have been taught, my technique is to be fully present and awake and aware, whatever's going on around me. And how much does that help me as a minister? Immensely. I can go with whatever's going on in the room and still come back to my message because I'm so present. It just, nothing throws me.
So that made you really have to be present.
Yeah, after that year of after repeating time and time again, you stop thinking about the lines and you actually think about what's going on.
Well, there was more to the class than that.
Not the first year.
Well, and did it also incorporate then your keener
And how
level
much
of
you-
listening?
Yes. No, that really was it, the first year.
Wow.
The whole class was there?
Sharon, there were 20 people in the class. We were paired up every week as 2 people. So you had to get 10 people. 10 people times 20 minutes. That's like, 200 minutes. That's, what is that? 6, 12, 18. That's 3-hour class. Yeah, that's what the class was. Twice a week for an entire year. And then he only asked like 10 back. Because by the end of the year, it's like, I can't hear any more of these people. It was pretty amazing. But we had amazing people in our class. I mean, amazing. Sigourney Weaver was in my class. Yeah, she was a great repeater.
I do have one
So,
more question.
yes.
Thank you so much. In terms of confidence.
Yes.
So last Thursday before coming to class, when I was having my little something to eat, West Side Story was on.
Uh-huh.
And I remember clearly seeing it in North New Jersey when I was a kid and how profound it was because I grew up in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching Red
Mm-hmm.
because it's you. And I remembered the story that you were telling about, I'm paraphrasing, about Jerome Robbins
Mm-hmm.
and having him make you do this move.
Mm-hmm.
And about also, I recall you talking about confidence
Mm-hmm.
in West Side Story.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did you build your confidence in that? Because from my memory and what I heard is that you at first didn't think that you had the muscles enough or that you were really going to be able to pull off this kind of role.
Mm-hmm.
And you did.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did you build into the confidence there?
I don't know from back then. I mean, remember that was 35 years ago. 36 years ago. I don't know. I think once I was very cocky. I had great confidence. Great confidence. It actually was confidence covering up a low self-esteem from being gay and not wanting to be. But I had great confidence. I mean, I was very arrogant. And Jerome Robbins tackled that, although they hired me because of it. But then they just tackled it, and he had just pushed every button in that man. So, I think it was more anger than anything else. For me, it was not about confidence. It was about, to Jerome Robbins. And it was that I operated at that point in my career on anger and proving, you watch me. So it wasn't like confidence so much as it was just, truly, that's what it was.
So then when did you, if I can ask, when did you step into your authentic confidence, do you feel?
I think I stepped into my authentic confidence when I met Eric Butterworth. That's when I started to understand that I wasn't actually authentic. Eric Butterworth, Unity, and then David Walker. That was it. Really, it's this teaching, this stuff. If you live it, you can't hide. You really can't hide, and you don't want to hide. And that's why you're going to be great ministers, because you will get up on stage and not hide, and people will look at you and go, "I want that." How many of you were here? None of you were here for the Revealing Circle.
was.
Oh, Connie was, of course. Oh, you two were, of course. Oh, three of, I'm like, none of you were. Of course, the three of you right there.
Well, from invisible to irresistible.
It's funny, we must have all been on the same team. No, we weren't. You and I were not. But the three of us, because I did hug you anyway, even though you weren't on my team. Right. Yes. The reason why I bring that up is because a night like that, when you have a center, when you're a minister and you're running a center, a night like that, who can hide in a room like that? You can't. That was an amazing evening. And I've gotten the emails I've gotten, I should send to you guys. I should send to the practitioners. I've gotten 3 emails from 3 other congregants that were there that just were blown away. So I will.
We talked about some of it last night.
Yeah, I did. So okay, so because I want to be done. My pleasure. Okay, so who are you as a brand? You got to know that. Really know that. What is your brand? And I don't mean what is your style. I mean what is your brand? What is your story going to be? That's a big one too. What's your story going to be? Obviously, a lot of my story up to this point has been Broadway actor turns minister. And frankly, that's the TV series apparently now, the spin they want to take on it. But what is your story? Why do you have a story that I should listen to? I mean, what happened? What happened that put you on stage talking to me? Why do you have a story? What story do you have? She's got hers. She gave birth to a child, to a stillborn, and that turned her life around. Karen, when she talked about being in an abusive relationship where she was beat up and she was on the floor being beat up by her husband and realized, you can't hurt me anymore. That moment for a lot of people in our congregation turned everything around for her in their eyes. That's her story. That's who she is. She is a woman that overcame this, and here's what I know now because of it. What's your story? Sharon's like, my life's been perfect.
Which is a great story.
Which is a great story. Yes. Not really. You were a lesbian. You were a lesbian woman in an Ozzie and Harriet family. Yeah. Who used to sneak out at night and you have your stories. Okay, so you got to know your story. Okay, the only other thing I want to clear up is John's use of the word empathy.
Why did I know that? I know. Yeah.
Now here's the thing. John just used the wrong word because what he said was correct, but he used the word empathy because he said he never talked about feeling what they're feeling. And that's what empathy is. Mm-hmm. You being able to feel what someone else is feeling. John literally was talking about you being able to understand someone and be able to comprehend and love them, that person, whatever they're going through, have compassion or unconditional love. Okay, but he used the word empathy because that's what most people use, that word, even though they don't know that it means something else. The last thing I want to ask you is, okay, the last thing I want to ask you is this. Who do you think is going to show up for you when you teach a class? Who do you think is going to show up for you when you're a minister, when you get up to speak? If you're listed as the speaker, who's getting up on a Sunday morning and going to get out of bed and drive to wherever you are, drive to Malibu, Aaron, and see you? Who are those people? You got to know that. Who are the people? And I'm not saying you need to know their names, but you do need to know who's your tribe? Who are the people that show up for you? Because when you know that, when you're clear on who's going to show up for you, like I know that the people that are going to show up for me, that are going to get out of bed in the morning, are the people that really want to change their lives. That's what, and the ones that don't have drifted away, and I say highest and furthest, and I'm really happy for them to go find another church where they can be very calm and sit down and just have fun and go to the socials, But the ones that are going to show up for me are the ones that because I'm hard hitting with what I say. I don't give you a pass, So I know that's my tribe, and if it's a little bit smaller, maybe. But you know what else it is? They give much more support to this church than the ones that just want to sort of sort of play around this stuff. Classes are fuller, the passion's fuller. So, but that's because I know who they are, and I rise to that level of what they expect because that's who I am. So you got to know who are they going to be, and then you won't. If you know that, and your answer is something profoundly exciting, then you're not going to show up on a Sunday and give a boring talk. You're not going to get up and just kind of like, make your way through it. I was serious on Sunday when I said I was happy to leave Austin with 2 hours sleep and get here. Although those pictures, now I know why they look so bad. Yeah. They took pictures Sunday and Connie showed them to me. I'm like, I look like I'm 110. I had no sleep. And they did close-ups. And the lighting was bad. I looked so bad. And even your husband said to me, he said, I could tell you were tired. Every time I brought the camera in close, I went, oh, I pulled it back. He did. And I said, I know you love me, so I'm going to just not take that personally. I look good from the house. Oh, I look good when they kept far away. Anyway, you got to know your tribe. Know who you're going after. And not even going after. I don't like that word. Know who is going to respond to you. Who is going to, yeah. We have too much to do for me to go around the room and ask you that question. And here's the deal. It's going to change as you change. The people that show up for me now aren't the same people that showed up for me 12 years ago when I started this. Because I started this in a much softer place. In a much sweeter place, in a much more, family, not family really, because the kids, actually the teens and the kids are really showing up. But I just started off, I wasn't as clear as I am now. And it was really, I kind of placated everyone. I wanted to please everyone. So I was kind of like cookie cutter talks, and they were good, but they weren't like, figure it out. And that's who I am. So it will change as you go along. And you got to know that too. Are you willing to remember who you are and know who your tribe is going to be now that you're going to change it? Like you said, if I'm going to change everything up, okay, there are people that left here because they don't like the music now, believe it or not you. They think we're too contemporary. We have too much, it's too loud. Doug did a lot more of the old fashioned music, Sharon.
At the time you finished Ministerial and started your minister into your third year, could you answer all those questions clearly, you think, at that time?
No, but I didn't have anybody asking them to me.
Because I don't know that I can answer it clearly.
No.
I have.
Think about it. But I'm telling you, no one asked me. Dr. Walker didn't ask me this. Dr. Walker did not prepare any of us for ministry, for practical ministry. We had everything we needed, but we didn't until you get out and do it, and it's now 14 years later.
And like you said,
13 years
some
now.
of those questions are the answers will be different.
Yeah. But what are they right now? You guys know those answers. They're there. You just have to sit with them. Just sit with them. Okay. So I love the Albert Einstein quote that he did, which is, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So we'll see what happens with that. So let's go to, so you can go first, Karen. Do you want to take, yes, just take 5 though, just unless you all have to go to Starbucks. Frost, do you have to go to Starbucks? Okay, good. Aaron, do you have to go to Starbucks? Okay, good.
Thank you for answering all those.
Yes, my
it's great.
pleasure.
Yeah, it's great to be able to
My pleasure.
get that feedback from what you do with fear, what you do with confidence, what you step into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
important stuff to know. Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh!
Thank you.
So this last,
James's chair.
you see my
He'll come by.
that's what I'm working on. Oh, that's what you asked me. Last night I'm sitting in here. No, last night I'm sitting in here. I'm like, the 3 progressions of C, and so what he's making me do is having to do those without looking up, because I look at my. Yeah, but I can sit here and go, because he was like, just play this for me. And I'm like, when I fall in love, it'll be forever. And he's like, what are you playing? I'll never fall. And I'm having to like go to and he goes, you play the root every time. I said, it's why I'm here. I did. Did you think I was going to come and play brilliantly for you? He said, "Oh, I didn't realize how much you had to learn."
Oh, jeez.
I was like,
It's always good when someone says that. Wow.
I just laughed. I was like, "Well, I knew what I had to learn." So I said, "I'm 60. Let's say by 70."
Did you kick your leg up in the air and say, I'm 60? You said that?
No.
Every time he says that, that's what I hear in my head. Sally O'Malley.
But the song, "There Is More,"
There's more.
so gorgeous. Yeah, it's great. And I think Kelly Britt is going to join us for the closing on the 1st.
Okay.
So she'll show up at 8:30 too. So she'll start, because she used to sing it all the time.
Oh,
So she'll
good.
start, "There is more beneath the stars and in the sky, there is more." Da, 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 da. And then we all do oohs, and then you'll sing a verse, and then I'll sing a verse. It's going to be gorgeous. And we'll do it all month, because the whole theme of the month is going to be "There Is More."
Fabulous.
So yeah, it's going to be really great.
Oh, that sounds
It's
great.
going to be a beautiful service. I'm going to try to get Cooper here too, Dr. Walker's husband.
Oh, great. That would be super great.
James, do me a favor and go look at my computer. Tell me what you see.
I see the board.
Just the board? You don't see a.
No, I see all the other ones.
What?
I see them on the side. Oh. There's the speaker view. Yeah, but if you go here, they can all just go away.
Yeah, but that's individually done.
So they have to do it.
They have to do that themselves. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, that's you. So you can do it where it's just you,
Mm-hmm.
it's everybody, or, oh, I don't know what that, yeah, but that's a big you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so okay, so then you just have to tell, we just have to tell them, you know, we're going to stay on us. If you want to see your classmates, go like that,
Yeah.
or take it all down.
Yes. Okay, now stay here. I know this isn't yours, sweetie. I just want to.
That looks great.
Yeah?
Yep.
I can't see it. Okay, there we go.
Now go back to Karen.
Wait a minute. Want this?
That looks great.
Okay. And then I go. There's
Yeah, that's
Karen.
great.
Okay, that's what we're going to do, although this is not Karen's. I just wanted to play with it.
That's great.
Yeah?
Yep.
Good.
Let me take this
Thank
off
you.
so this isn't behind her.
Hi, I was playing, so now we're not playing anymore. Look, there's James. Hi, James.
Were we supposed to have this in PowerPoint?
No.
No.
Who did a PowerPoint? Let me guess. Aaron?
I did it.
Okay, good. What?
I have a grapefruit soda, not just that I want really
Okay.
bad.
You have a great what?
Grapefruit soda.
So here's how this is going to work. How many are we? 9? 8? Yeah, because Ellen's not here. 8, right? Good. So we'll be able to get to my other thing too. Mm.
Surprise them.
My surprise thing. All right. Okay, hit it. So here's how this is going to work. Sorry. So you're going to do your 6 minutes and I'm going to critique it afterwards. Right afterwards. After each one. Yep. And here's why. I'm going to critique it after each one. Karen's the guinea pig. So you're going to hear what I'm looking for and adjust. I'd like to not be giving the same notes to each one of you.
Fly information, fly information.
No. That's funny.
Get it together. I'm gonna time myself, yes?
No, Connie, you got that. Connie will do it.
Sorry, I will hang on just. I need 6 minutes, right?
6 minutes. If that goes off, you stop. Okay?
Sentence?
What? Mid-sentence. When it goes off, you're done.
Good to know. Ready?
Yes,
There you go.
go. What is the #1 selling secret? No, sorry. But what is #1? Silence. There's power in the silence. I'm doing the superhero pose. I feel my testosterone raising. Probably gonna get a hot flash now. Silence. There's power in the silence. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to remember. Very often when we're talking at people, instead of listening, we're talking to people. Let there be some silence. And John says when there's silence within, it radiates out. The calm that we feel when we experience that silence. Staying focused, staying in our own lane. Remember him swimming along? Staying in our own lane, focusing. And as James said tonight, when we do a treatment, focusing, pointing that treatment. We are moving thought into form for a purpose. Let's keep our mind on that purpose. So focus, we have moments of silence, we're staying in our own lane. We are being master storytellers. And I love that because I feel like that's what I do with songs. Okay, I'm always trying to get a clever hook line. I'm trying to make it interesting in the beginning. I'm trying to tell the story and then have a strong finish. So everybody's either crying or laughing or whatever they're doing, but they're moved by it. They're inspired by it. That's what I'm here for. That's what each of us is here for, right? To inspire. So being a master storyteller, wow. I just was like, that's an awesome concept. Why am I not doing that when I talk? Why am I doing that only during songs? I never thought of it that way. So I always thought I was trying to come up with a point or a quote that's really killer, and those are good. Those are really good. But it's telling the story, teaching through inspiration. Okay, so it reminded me of a story in my own life. I don't know if anyone can relate, any parents that are divorced. No? Oh, come on! Okay. I got one, okay.
The token divorcee.
Yeah.
No, I fit in there too.
So my parents divorced when I was about 6. And so I was really little, and it was hard to understand what was going on. I remember my dad just being really sad and distant. And he kind of stayed that way the rest of my life with him. Was really distant, and he stayed kind of sad until his cancer. And then I was able to really be of service to him as a grown-up, and we started getting close. So that was a gift from his cancer. But when I was 6, he sat with me and he said, you know, Karen, not everybody's gonna like you. And I just looked at him, I was just like incredulous. I wasn't angry, I wasn't hurt, but I was just like, that's impossible. Like, of course everyone's gonna like me. And what's not to like? I mean, if I'm not mean to anybody, if I don't upset anybody, they're gonna like me. Well, I spent, the rest of my life figuring out, yeah, not everybody's gonna like me. And I love when John talked about the likability factor. How do we come across and have people like the why behind the why, the who that we are? We can't force it. As Aaron said, authentic. We can't force someone to like us. And you know what? Not everyone's gonna like each one in this room. Not everyone's going to be attracted to Aaron's ministry, James's ministry, my ministry. And that's totally okay. Because whoever is irradiating and resonating with whatever we are, the why behind the why, is meant to be here. And that's going to be changing. As you said, it changes over the years. So to wrap it up here, we are selling transformation, as we talked about. Be irresistible. I love how John talked about get that second date. Really. I mean, what are we trying to get them to come back for? I loved when John talked about what do we want? Do we want them to keep returning? Do we want them to bring new people? Do we want them to go out of the community and talk about our centers? I mean, what is our purpose? So honing in on that one thing, and again, it comes down to the one thing. I love that. So that's what I'm here to do, to make a difference and ask questions like, what if? What if not everybody likes me? What if I present myself as authentic and I'm still invisible to some people? But what if I make a dent in the world?
Mm.
That's what I'm here to do.
Okay, good job. How much time does she have left?
36 seconds.
Oh,
Perfect. Okay. So, loved your humorous opening. Great to get us laughing right at the top. And you pulled out a lot of what John said. You covered a lot of it. I didn't have a sense of which thing. I didn't have a sense of how it all came together for you into one thing. You know what I mean? Not that you had to do that, but I was assuming they're wanting that.
There's so
But
many things.
but I also didn't feel that you set it up. I didn't feel you set up your talk. I thought it was great, the beginning, but I didn't feel like you led us through the talk other than just giving me points,
That's yours.
However,
Yeah, it's your camera.
Oh, it's my alarm.
Oh, because you said it too. And then I also thought, Karen, where is this? The ending was great. You wrapped it up good, but then you also did the thing that I just prayed that you would do, which is tell a story.
Oh, yeah.
Get me into tell me something about you that makes me. And you asked the question about being divorced too, which usually in a room you're going to find a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if you meant, are you from divorced parents or are you a divorced parent?
Yeah.
So you didn't. I wasn't until I went, oh wait, so you weren't clear on that. You meant you said how many people here are divorced, but you didn't say that.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Come from a divorce. I don't know.
Yeah. And your likability factor is off the charts. It is because you stay very likable as you're saying that whole thing. Yeah, that's great. Really great. Good. Frost?
Yeah. My parents got divorced when I was a grown up, so I just didn't even think about it like that. Technically, they are.
Are they divorced? I never thought your parents were divorced.
My mother got remarried very quickly afterwards to a man who looks just like my dad.
Oh, your stepdad. Right. Oh, yes, right.
She calls him Jason.
But it's your
By
stepdad.
my dad's name every time I'm there. So it's really funny.
No way.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's hilarious.
Karen, by the time you get home, you'll be able to do the last thing.
Great.
Okay.
I'm gonna rush home.
All right. Who here remembers MySpace?
Oh.
All right, like 3 of you. Okay. So for those of you who don't in the room, MySpace was the original social networking site. It's what set off this whole social media trend to begin with, was MySpace. And in the original MySpace, just like Facebook, you created a profile, but your profile meant a lot more in MySpace than it currently does on Facebook. This was the thing that you displayed to people about who you were. And personally, I wasn't a huge fan of About Me sections at the time. I was 22 when MySpace came onto the scene. But in my About Me section, I said that I was looking for the meaning of life. And sometime around 27, when I found Signs of Mine, I figured out what the meaning of life was. And MySpace was still around, so I got to update my profile to say that I now know what the meaning of life is. And of course, somebody said, okay, well, what is it? And I said, it's to enjoy myself. The purpose of life is to enjoy it. And so I figured this out at the beginning of my studies. And this is something that I figured out, which is why I love Troberg so much, having an actual someone who is considered credible in this teaching to back up something that I just sort of came to me one day. But the idea of, even though I figured this out years ago, I forget all the time. I get caught up in whatever is happening, and I forget the whole reason that I'm here is to really enjoy this. And so over the course of the last few weeks, I mentioned that the one thing had kind of, I had allowed the assignment of trying to figure out what the one thing is to really sort of be a source of stress in my life. And when I remembered that what my purpose is here to live my truth, to be who I am, to enjoy every moment, the whole transformation of understanding who I am in the world in relation to being a minister and everything that John Livesey had to say really allowed me to figure out and apply what it is that I now know about myself, and really go back to that understanding of, if what I'm here to do is enjoy my life, how do I express that other than just showing up and having fun? And so we all know, I've mentioned before that I love to write, and
I came up with what I call the log line of my life, or the log line of who I am in regards to what my one thing is. And it is through the art of storytelling, I encourage myself and others to remember to enjoy life. And so that storytelling might be me telling you that story about MySpace, or it might be a script that I write that becomes a TV movie or an actual movie or a TV show. It's me expressing myself and enjoying myself through the art of literally storytelling or writing itself. So I really want to, I appreciate how Karen mentioned at the beginning that idea of silence, remembering silence. There was a lot that I was able to take away in regards to storytelling and speech through what it is that John had to say. Silence is a big one for me. The other one was that formation of butterflies. That's something that I have to make an effort, just remember to do when I'm finding myself feeling nervous about not knowing what I'm going to say or do next. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to have gotten these kinds of techniques. And I want to close this by acknowledging the transition of Prince. A lot of people have really expressed their mourning and sorrow about this, but at the same time, Prince's lyrics really focus on the idea of enjoying life. You remember the song 1999, the whole concept of living like it's 1999 is partying like it's 1999 and let's go crazy. He talks about what is this? I think I wrote this lyric down. What is it all for? You better live now before the Grim Reaper come knocking on your door. And even though it's kind of morose, to say that in relation to his passing, this is a man who recognized this, who expressed himself authentically, creatively, and truly lived from a place of joyful expression. So I'm so grateful to have had influences like Prince, and I'm grateful to have made the decision to be clear about who I am, to choose to live from a place of joy, and express that accordingly. Namaste.
Great. How much time did she have left? Good. Okay, so that was great. Your beginning with MySpace was terrific, really terrific. It engaged everybody pretty quickly, and I think everybody actually knew what MySpace was, right? You didn't know what MySpace was?
Did you? Okay. I saw confused faces. That's what
I remember it.
You remember it, Aaron. You remember it, and David, you remember it. Mariana, no, but you're not a social media person anyway, are
But
you?
I know of it.
Okay,
Yes.
so most of us did.
And it was so much more interesting than Facebook.
It was actually, yeah.
Yes, and yet it's not.
It's well, like she said, who founded MySpace?
Tom.
What's his name?
Tom.
Tom. Yeah, right. So we don't know. I don't know who founded MySpace. Well, that's a good backdrop for me. So I liked your whole talk. It was great, and I love that you brought in Troward. And I made a note that you then corrected, but I want to say this. Yes, the meaning of life is to enjoy life, and Thomas Troward basically teaches that. Our entire purpose of being is to enjoy life, to be in the joy of life, right? But as a minister, what is your one thing? As a minister, and then you did say it later, because, so tell me what you said again.
in regards to
The one
log
thing.
line,
Yeah, the log line. What is it?
One thing is through the art of storytelling, I remind myself and others to enjoy life.
Great. As a minister, and others is a big part of it. And I always feel when you get up and talk and you say these things, or say, I don't know, I just want to have fun. You forget as a minister, that's why you're up there. It's not enough that you know that the meaning of life is for you to enjoy life. That's great. That's good. I'm 100% behind you. But as a minister, your one thing is to, by example, show the world that the only thing they have to do is enjoy their life. And if they get in line with that, so you can actually make that a passionate thing, but you don't present it passionately.
I think the reason I don't though is because to me it's outcome oriented. It's to me focusing on the joy that I have around it means that if my goal is to encourage you to do this, but you still don't, that my joy isn't diminished by that at all. So that's the only reason why I focus on my joy when I say that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, no. Don't worry about, if someone doesn't get it, that doesn't matter.
That's
Because there's going to be 1,000 that do. And that's your purpose. I mean, you have to have a purpose to be a minister. You have to have a reason. It can't just be to enjoy life, because that's your purpose as a human being, as a divine human being, to enjoy life. And that works for you as a minister. But the reason you're becoming a minister is to assist the world in understanding that.
I think we need to remember, I remember someone saying that everyone they call the channel the WNFI, or whatever, what's in it for me? So whenever they're listening to you talk or saying why you're ministering or whatever, they're not listening. They're like, yeah, that's cool. Your story's really cool. But what they actually are listening for is what's in it for me. And so if I hear you say, I want you to be able to live just your happiest life, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. Tell me more about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And by the way, we have a teaching that promotes that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a way of getting you to understand how to use your mind in such a way that it frees you up to enjoy your life. That's what I'm looking for from you.
I don't dispute it. I just,
Yeah.
for me,
It's not comfortable yet.
No, it's not even uncomfortable. It's just taking the outcome away from it.
But that's not an outcome.
Okay.
That's not an outcome. That's cause. You are giving people a way to be the cause of their life. You're not going after the outcome. You're not going after. See, you're thinking of joy as a destination.
I mean the inspiring of others as being as that being the outcome. Does that make sense? That's the part that I'm talking about.
Yeah, but don't step into that. That's what a minister does.
Okay.
And for you to shy away from it, think, well, I don't want to be telling other people what to do, or I don't want to go after the outcome of inspiring people. I just want to live my life. And well, then that's just a different thing. You can still live your life and go be a book writer. Then go be a television writer. You'll inspire people by what you do in your life, but you're not becoming the authority of how that can happen. You're just doing it. There's two different things. If you're going to be a minister, like it or not, you're setting yourself up as an authority on this philosophy, on the philosophy of life, and helping other people achieve their goals.
I don't dispute it.
So you're kind of straddling both, but not wanting to.
I think I am, but I understand, because I completely agree with you, and I wouldn't
Okay.
dispute any of that at all.
So where's the
I think-
disconnect? Where's my disconnect with you then?
I think it's my decision not to. The reason I keep focusing on the outcome is for me to say that what I am doing is inspiring others. That's why I said remind and encourage, because I can't decide what someone else does with it. But what I can do is I can be here as a resource, and I enjoy being here as a resource. But to me, if I am focusing on the outcome of someone else's inspiration and someone else's success, I'm not focusing on what feeds me within.
But why do you keep changing my words and thinking that that's what I'm saying? Because it's not.
No, that's what I'm saying is I agree with you. I do agree with you. I'm just saying I use the word choice that I do for that reason. That's all I'm saying.
No, but you're saying you don't want to go after the outcome of inspiring people. And
No, I'm not saying
well, what are you saying? You're confusing me.
I get that.
And be specific. Be really clear what you're saying.
I'm saying that I think, as you said all the time, that what a minister does is lives by example.
Right.
And that when one lives by example, they inspire others to do the same. When
Right.
you speak your truth, you live authentically, you inspire others to do the same.
Right.
I do not specifically say my goal is to inspire others. My goal is to live my truth, and I am grateful for those who are inspired to do the same. Does that make sense?
It does. And what I'm saying is your goal should be to inspire others. And staying away from that, I think, will not serve you.
Okay.
I don't know why you think inspiring others is somehow not something to go after.
I'm not saying that it isn't.
Or
I'm
why
just
don't
saying
you
it's
want that?
Putting that as an outcome. That's all I'm saying is I think it's putting that as an outcome.
When if I'm a brain surgeon, my goal is to heal someone's brain. My goal is to go in there and operate on that brain and make it better, clear it, right?
Yeah.
Don't you want that if you came to me for brain surgery?
Yeah.
What if I said, you know what? Here's my job as a brain surgeon. I'm just going to go in and do my best and just do whatever I do. But at the outcome, I'm not going after the outcome. I'm just going to do what I do, and we'll see what happens. I don't want you as my doctor. I don't want you as my minister either. I want to know that you are literally investing in my being inspired.
That's a good point.
So, great talk.
Thank you.
Okay, Mariana. Mariana, try to stay over there. Like, if you're going to come in front of it, that's fine. But just try to stay over there, just so that we don't see the television screen. It drives Helen crazy.
You're as far over as.
Oh, so where
No, no,
would be
this-
best?
just-
Here?
Yeah, right there. You got that whole area there. Helen, are you hearing well? Do I need to move the mic up closer?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, good.
What I realized since I'm a little kid, and I'm so excited about this, is that my whole life has been about upliftment, inspiration, enthusiasm, and just also watching individuals get so excited about who they are. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and what I really loved was I used to sing and dance off of people's porches. And so I used to create shows. And what I really loved was getting the kids in the neighborhood and just saying, okay, what are you good at? And even if they were shy, it would be the way I would be able to talk to people and the way I would be able to get something out of them. They would be able to stand with me, and I would watch how the light bulb would go off inside of them, and they would just begin to just show who they are. And so I realized at a young age that this was part of my life's work. And even throughout, since I'm 9 years old, just teaching theater and dance to special ed kids, and even in high school, just doing all the things that I really stood for and did, I realized my one thing has constantly been not only to get to know individuals, but to absolutely find out about who they are, what makes them tick, and how they can step into their greatness. A couple of individuals who really inspired me growing up, because I was a great observer as a kid. I know that now, but when I was little, I used to step back a lot, and I would stand silent, although, you wouldn't know it because I was always in motion. I was talking. I was always pretty much the energy rabbit, with all that energy, I was always moving and shaking. But my mother was really actually an amazing individual, because whenever she talked to you, she would actually pay so much attention. And she would take the moment and be really present and listen to what the individual was saying. And my mother had this ability to, the individual I could see would also, this importance would begin to they would embrace it. And by the time my mother would walk away, people would feel important. I could feel it, I sensed it. And I also noticed that from my Irish godmother. I was really grateful. I grew up with my Irish godmother, Maz was her name. And the way that she paid attention to people and the way that she listened was just a remarkable thing, because all of a sudden people would open up on a big level. And I realized that that is a gift that I have, is that when I'm with someone, all of a sudden they open up in a beautiful way. And all of a sudden, they feel so comfortable that they're allowing their unique, authentic self to come through. When I was a little kid, I grew up singing and dancing. Back then it was with Victrola, Ha Ha. I won't go into how long ago that was. And a couple albums or shows that really inspired me was The King and I and South Pacific. And I remember when I was a little girl, staying at my godmother's house, my Aunt Kitty was the one with the Victrola, and I would go down and put on Getting to Know You. And it became my signature song, getting to know you, getting to know all about you. And I realized that that's actually how I live my life. That I love not only being interesting, because I love reading, I love watching old movies and perhaps even relaying the old movies and the theme of the old movies. But I find it very intriguing, which John talked about, and irresistible to find out and to be that inspiration for someone to really tap into who they are. So my one thing, which I'm so happy about, is to be that place of even learning about my own authenticity in a lot of ways. Yes, sometimes because I may be afraid, I may have this air of an actress or lofty, when that is really so not what is ever my intention. My intention is to be down home, hey, what it is, what's happening, how you doing? And that's what I'm opening up to now on more of a level. My greatest quality is my enthusiasm for who I am walking in this teaching and how I've grown in the progress. Because I realized growing up in Newark that there were so many changes always going on, because I grew up in the rise of Newark also, and a transformation that I witnessed because it actually happened on my birthday, July 11th. But I didn't realize that. It was happening downtown, not that we lived uptown, but we lived a little further up. And when the tanks started showing up the next day and all of the police, it was really a telling moment for me in my life, because I realized that things were transforming before me. And in that moment, I was 13 years old. And I realized that that was an important key for me, was to keep opening up to transforming and getting to know me. It was not only about getting to know you, it was really at a higher level getting to know me. And as I'm stepping into becoming a minister, what I'm most grateful for is that I have the 22 plus years as a practitioner, that I've had moments with individuals, and I've had moments to discover who I am, even in the midst of uncertainty or fear or doubt. And that's what I'm most
Okay.
grateful for.
Okay, so question. What was the assignment? Watch out. Then you go to Mariana.
Oh, sorry.
To talk about the one thing and what my one thing as a minister is going to be.
No. What was the assignment, Aaron?
It was to do the intro, message, and outro, a powerful intro and outro, and your message relating it to John and how it relates to your ministry.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the 3 points. So you're supposed to have had 3 points, and intro and entrance. So Squarespace, my Squarespace, SpongeBob, SquarePants. It was about MySpace, and then what she got out of John, what moved her, and then a closing.
Right, the points that I got from John, which were the intriguing, interesting, and irresistible. And that's what I brought into it. And
Intriguing?
yes. The latter?
You didn't mention that.
Oh, I didn't mention it. I just went into it, yes.
No, you said that so the beginning story was good, that you started with a story about your childhood, but this felt more like a job application, like you were trying to tell us what you were good at. And you do that. You do that a lot. You tell us a lot how good you are at things. And that's not good to do that constantly. You did say the inspiration that but you told us you were irresistible. It's like bad writing in terms of like in playwriting, you don't tell them what's happening, you show them. You prove it. You know, it's like, I don't want to have a playwright, right? Karen, tell me. And then this happened and I felt this way. It's like, oh my God, that's not a good way to do it. So you were telling us a lot about what you're good at, as opposed to, what about us? We're the ones listening to your talk. I mean, I'm not really here to celebrate your life. It's kind of what we were saying, what Karen was saying, yes, how are you going to translate it so that someone cares what you're talking about? Because you said my greatest quality is, and I'm sitting here going, why are you telling me your greatest qualities? What's the purpose of that? And then you went into the story about your birthday and the wars in Newark, which I had no idea what that had to do with your story.
Transformation.
What transformation?
Oh, just telling Lonnie and that, the riots in North, I realized it was transforming everything, not only my life.
Did anybody get that? I was listening. I was not pulling off. I don't think you made a point with that story. So yeah, so I just don't feel like you did the assignment, and one of my issues with you is that you do tend to say a lot, and then I don't know what's in there. I don't know what the point is, and so I taught you guys the 3-point method because it's the surefire way to give a powerful little talk. This was 6 minutes. I specifically did 6 minutes for 2, 2, and 2. And you can get done early. That's fine. But to give me a story, give me an entrance, and I was looking for a story. Giving me an entrance. What's the meat of what you're trying to say, and then how you're going to get me out of here, and make it exciting. Okay.
Okay.
So think about that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Sharon.
So what if one lecture can inspire me to change my way of presenting things and to engage with my audience a lot better, a lot more strongly? What if understanding that becoming a master storyteller can energize my talks, can energize the way that I am when I'm speaking, whether it's a 5-minute power talk or a longer talk? Well, I think like all of us, I was inspired by John Osei's talk last week. I thought he was inspiring. He was very engaging. I felt very engaged with him. I think we all did. And I thought he had that likability factor. I even told him that. I thought he had that. He had that going for him. And he told us that we really need to be prepared. He was obviously very prepared. His slides were great. And he told us we need to be prepared. And that if we just tried to wing it, we're probably going to get a lot of ums and ahs, and it's not going to be as good of a presentation for us. It's not going to work as well. So, but also to be in the moment. So I think we need to be in the moment, be able to respond to questions, to comments, and then go right back, as James said earlier, go right back to the talk. But I think in addition to listening to what I'm saying, I need to listen to that divine wisdom and energy within me, and let any inspiration come through. I might have an inspirational thought that I can incorporate right at that moment. So it is important. I really feel it is important to be in the moment, but also be open. And I think probably very few people come to public speaking and giving presentations just like that easily. It's a process. And the more you do it and the more practice you have, the easier it becomes, and the more natural you can be at doing that. So John talked about our fears, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, and the fear of the unknown. And he told us that as far as the fear of rejection, we shouldn't reject ourselves, and not to take anything personally, like it says in the 4 agreements. And also with failure, he said, and I certainly agree, it's just feedback. We're not a failure, and it's not a failure unless we just quit. And as far as the unknown, we can collaborate and we can find out information so that we do feel comfortable and confident in what we're presenting. And I really, to get back to what John said about being a storyteller, I wanted to incorporate a story into this presentation. And I'm going to tell you about the first time I had to do public speaking. Well, I was in the 7th grade, about to go in the 8th grade, and I was asked to give a talk to the incoming new 7th graders about all the clubs that are available in junior high. I was in a junior high 7th and 8th grade junior high. Well, I didn't say no. I then and still do not know why they would ask me. I wasn't in any of the clubs. But nonetheless, I said, okay, and I went home, I told my mom and dad about it. My dad got really excited. And he said, he gave a lot of talks in his work. And he was then very actively involved in Toastmasters. So he said, Sharon, I'll help you prepare for this. So I did. I went out and interviewed different people from the clubs and the leaders of the clubs. I found the information. I worked with my dad. And I'll never forget the day I got up. It was kind of a high stage in the whole auditorium. It was almost full. And I was up there, and I've never really used a microphone before.
Mhm.
And so I got up there, and I stood up straight, and I spoke clearly and loudly. My dad said, be sure they can hear you. And so I got there, I gave them all the information, I got through the talk, and it was kind of a blur, but I remember feeling like, well, I didn't faint, I didn't die. And I knew, and I just gave me the feeling that I could really get through things. So it was a great time. And in my career, I did a lot of talking and speaking and lecturing, but it was mostly on more technical things. I never was as comfortable with other things that were more coming from my heart. But I think that the first section of ministerial training was minister as speaker, and how important it is that we can be authentic, come from the heart, and present this beautiful teaching, this wonderful philosophy in a way that people want it and people hear it. And so that's what my progress has been this 2 years, of trying to move towards being able to be more comfortable and present myself and what I'm trying to get across in a way that's engaging. So I think that I really enjoyed it. I want to watch the lecture again online because I think it was meaty and there was a lot to get out of it. I felt I got a lot of it. I think the feedback afterwards is that we all really enjoyed it. I remember John said that we should consider our voice and ourselves as a musical instrument. So have you thought about what musical instrument you might represent?
Good. Well, I can tell you that's probably the best talk you've given. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
That most engaging.
Her talk and singing was phenomenal.
Oh, I wasn't there.
So good.
Was it?
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Was it recorded?
No.
Oh. It was the two of you together?
Yeah.
Great. Was she as comfortable as that?
She was, yes.
Yes?
Yeah. So that's what I'm used to amazing Sharon now. 'Cause
Okay, cool.
she was,
Well, that was a different Sharon that night then too.
yes.
Great. So yeah, you have you really did you took a leap. You took a big leap from where you have been the last couple of years into who you just showed up as tonight for me, and apparently at See Me. So you were engaging, you were excited, you had passion. I only counted 6 ums. It's getting better. Usually it would be about 30. Seriously.
I've tried to be a lot more aware.
Your ums only come in when you are not sure what the connective tissue is between what you just said and what you're about to say. That's what it's about. It's like if you can get, the way to get rid of the ums is to be okay with the silence.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, because I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm looking down at my page.
I tried to be sure that I had sort of the beginning, middle, and close.
You did. Your closing, obviously you didn't have enough time for your closing, but your beginning was great. Really great. And you did. First of all, did anybody else? Didn't you just love it when she said, "What if?" I mean, that was John right there. You know, that was exciting. What if one lecture could make me a better speaker?
Yeah.
It was perfect beginning to that talk. And then you really did hit a number of the things he said in his lecture. And you're not supposed to do a recap of his lecture. You're supposed to do a recap of what affected you.
I tell you, I read your email 2 or 3, 4 times maybe, because I really want to understand what the assignment was. And I started something else that was different, and then I reread it again, and I threw that out and started over.
Well, you did a great job. I mean, you probably had more than 6 minutes worth, but.
Well, I only had 2 more lines.
Oh, what were they?
The instrument that I think I've sort of moved up to is an accordion at this time. But I'm moving on up.
Mama's got 3 songs.
I'm moving on up.
Violin.
Excellent. Oh, that would be a great ending. Great. Okay, good. Aaron? Now we have the PowerPoint, correct?
Yes, we have
Do you need the podium?
obviously,
Because I'm gonna move this for you a little bit. Move it here. I'm gonna take my book back. Sharon, that was great. I just love seeing you take that kind of a leap, especially now that you're being scheduled into the next round of Power Talks.
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to.
I know, I'll do it.
Okay, great. I can't.
I'll do the camera.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, no, I can't. David, would you do the camera? Because I have to take notes. If you would do the camera, it's just being able to go back and forth between her and the,
And the screen.
yes.
Just hang 1 second.
Move the camera from it. Connie, you just, no, Connie, you put the PowerPoint on the screen for some reason. No, because David's camera's not going back and forth.
No, it is for them.
Oh, it is at home,
It
but
is
not
at
with
home.
us?
It's just not with us.
Oh, cool. Great.
Yeah, it works, James.
Great, thank you.
And Aaron, where would you like, Aaron? Would you like me to start on you, or would you like me to start on the screen? Well,
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so question. Do you guys remember the first time that you went to the theater? And I know you do, James, but the rest of you, the first time you ever went to the theater. For me, it was 1979, and it was in San Francisco, and it was this gorgeous theater, and I was in there with my father and my sister. And I'll never forget that the entire crowd all of a sudden kind of like made this sound, and everyone looked behind. And here came Peter Pan across on the wire, and Sandy Duncan, and she came down on stage in San Francisco. And I thought, oh my God, you can actually take something that is in your consciousness, it's not even real, it's make believe, and you can bring it out here into the world. And I was like, wow. And then in that exact moment, I thought, I have this kind of it's because I only got to see my dad once a year, and you take us to these profound things, and we live this extravagant life. We went to the theater, I went to these extravagant restaurants, and right in that moment, I realized that I have to go back to my real life. My mom's consciousness was not quite as extravagant. We didn't have much money, and we definitely did not go to the theater. But in that moment, also, I decided I wanted to live that possibility. I wanted to live a life of abundance. I wanted to live a life of creativity, and I wanted to live a life of all possibility. And so the number one thing that I got out of John's talk was the power of story. And I really get that. I love the fact when he went, it's the 4 whys. So why, when, what, when, where, and why. And then adding a problem and a solution. And that is what's considered kind of a formula, if you will, to a powerful story. And so I get that if I really want to step into my ministry as a powerful leader, and for all of us, that this is what the transformation that we're going to have to go through. And I've always been like, I've just never thought in stories in my life. So I'm really looking forward to developing this in myself. So next slide. So that brings me to transformation. And the first story I think about this is the butterfly, of course, the caterpillar to the butterfly. What else do you think of? It's the first thing when I think of transformation. So you think about the story of, which is not in, it's just not some imagination thing. This is a real thing, this incredible thing. This caterpillar is going along, and we hear the story a lot in our work, but the caterpillar is just doing what it does, like us, what we do, our human beingness. It's eating all these plants, and then it gets full, and it literally entangles itself, like we entangle ourselves in all of our limited beliefs. So much so that we all of a sudden have to hang upside down on a tree, and then the caterpillar literally engulfs itself. It literally eats itself, except for some cells called imaginal discs. It's been in it the entire time. And these imaginal discs literally grow the wings and grow a butterfly. And then the butterfly breaks free of this cocoon and flies. This is what we want in a story. I realize that I have to get to a place in a story where I've got a problem and a solution. These are the greatest stories. This is what you're writing in your script, right? This is the story that we all want. We want to overcome something.
We want to have a relatable thing that we've always gone through, all of us have gone through, that tells of the potential of what we are. And so this brings me to people don't buy information, they buy transformation. And that people buy emotions and then they justify it with the facts. And so this brings me to the next slide, which is dun, 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 life. And the ultimate story for all of us is our own life. We want to live this story. We want to live the Peter Pan story. We want to live the butterfly story. We want to be that transformation. And the third thing that I really got from John's talk is we want to not only, as we step into our ministry, we obviously don't want to just go from forgettable to memorable, but we want to go to irresistible. And so what does this take? What does this really truly take? And what I get is that he said the formula is creating a fear of losing out. And I don't think it has to be a manipulative thing like, let's create some fear of these people. But what this teaching is that it creates a fear of missing out. Because when you get a taste of this work and you start stepping into your greatness, and you start practicing a daily spiritual practice, and you start stepping into your power and your grace, you're like, wow, who could I really be if I really step into this? It automatically creates the fear of missing out. I'm missing out on living my life fully and living and experiencing myself fully, who I truly can be. And so wrapping this up, you know, John talked about the story about the book 212 degrees, and that most people stop at 111 degrees. Sorry, 211 degrees. And, you know, he said there's two words if you want to start a powerful story or if you want to start a powerful conversation, it is what if. Because what if opens the imagination, it also opens up inspiration, and it opens up possibility. So ending this off, I'd like to ask you guys, what if we could fly like Peter Pan? What if it just took some fairy dust, some faith, and some wonderful thoughts? Because right here in this room is the potential of the greatest, not only TED Talk, but the greatest people on earth that literally could transform themselves and the world into the butterfly. Namaste.
Wow. That was great.
That was so impressive.
Yes.
I can teach you guys how to do the slides in 2.2 also. It takes like, you know, time on slides and one little app on your phone.
All right. Oh.
Really? That's great.
So this is going to be difficult.
Aaron?
It's gonna go, yeah,
No, you can stay on me
yeah, okay.
because Aaron's not going to have much to say to what I'm about to say, which is just that was the best talk you've ever given. It was clear, concise, clean. You never went. One of my issues with you is you tend to go off point, and I'm like, Aaron, where are you? No, come back. Not at all. That was. It was like you've graduated. Yes, it's a graduation talk. It's like a you went from there to there. You just and ended it with the butterfly and ended it with opened with what if, ended with what if. It was amazing. So much so that take John out of it, so that because I don't, you know, you can't do that on a Sunday, but you should give this talk on a Sunday. You should. It can't be a here's what I learned in class,
Yeah.
but what you just did is great. I mean, figure it out, and we'll do the slides and everything. It's great. There's your power talk. Okay, too bad it's not this month because you're not the speaker at all. Too bad because it's unlimited month. Although next month is more. There is more. The whole theme of the month is more. So this would be perfect for that. I'll put you in as one of the speakers next month. Excellent.
Preferably at the beginning of the month to the end, since we're going to be doing our final overview.
Yeah, I can do. Yeah, I could do you at the beginning. I mean, Karen has the first week, but you can do the second week. Excellent. Karen Mitchell. Yeah. It's like, because I thought you were like, I do? Okay, good. Excellent. I have nothing more to say. That was just exquisite. And I've heard that butterfly story 1,000 times, haven't we all? And yet that was a very new way of hearing it. I didn't know they had those two cells that all of a sudden, that was great.
I did a whole meditation using those things.
Imaginal discs?
Yes,
Was I there?
you were there.
Oh, Well,
I thought you were like lying when you, not lying, but it was a facetious name of the disc when you did that.
oh, you stole it from her?
No,
That's so
no, no,
great.
No, I didn't. But now that you said it right now, I remember you.
Is it me or is my hair looking pretty amazing tonight? Look at
Oh
that.
my gosh, I was just gonna say you need hair.
And you'll.
No, I think it looks amazing. It's just the back needs a haircut. I need to trim in the back, but the rest of it, I love it. Okay, you're up, David. Karen, Connie, take it off me. I like looking at myself, but
Yes, you do.
let's do David. And can you zoom in on him
Yes, I
so that it's not like he's in the RFO radio station? That's great. That's good.
So what I'd like to do is share with you what I've done, what I'm doing, and what I'm going to do. And what I mean by that is, most of you all know that I had a rather long career as a singer. And it was a full-on career. And I've done so many other things in my life, but the thing that I really love to remember and to really feel were the years that I was singing. But one time I was doing a concert tour in Florida, and today's discussion was bringing this back to me. Because prior to, I hadn't sung in a while. There'd been quite a length of time between I'd done any kind of performances. And in the preparation, I was starting to feel those butterflies. And they're not just here, they're everywhere. And I was a pacer. I was like, why do I do this? What am I doing? I hate this. Why do I bother? And it's this whole kicking myself here for this. And then all of a sudden I walk on Music Goes and it's like, oh yeah, now I know. And I was home. I was doing what I do. And I had the confidence and I had the experience and I owned the stage and it was like love all over again. But where did that come from? And I remember that as a child, 5 years old, I was a singer. I sung. They couldn't stop me. They tried. Trust me. I was singing everything, everywhere. Singing the Chipmunk songs. I was singing all the rock and roll songs. I was singing anything and everything I could learn. That's what I did. I loved to sing. I was passionate about singing. That's what I loved to do. And then my singing became an obsession. It was like, I've got to sing. I've got to sing. And that became my what if. What if? Because I remember as a child dreaming about singing. I visualized myself actually being on stage. And only now do I realize that when I was walking out on that stage, that was my mental equivalent. I didn't know anything about mental equivalent in those days. I didn't know that I was creating what I was doing. I wish I had, because trust me, my imagination would have been much, much bigger than it was. It became the obsession, it became the creation. But why did I want to sing? Well, because I was obsessed and because I was passionate, because I wanted the girls. It was all about the girls. I want to get laid. Be as simple as that. And it worked. But something happened along the way. As I was singing, as I was performing, and I was playing in different places, and I started doing cruise ships, and I was doing so many different casinos and hotels, and people were coming up to me, and they're saying, your voice, the way you sing it, what you're doing, it's touching me, it's doing this. And I started to realize that there was a quality that was far beyond me. It wasn't me. It was the thing that was coming through me that was becoming something that I now understand as a healing property. There was a time on a cruise ship when I was setting up a song. The song was After the Lovin'. And yeah, great song.
Mm-hmm.
And I invited the people, the couples, I had set it up I invited the men to look at their girlfriends, their wives, and to take their hands. Didn't know if it was gonna work. That's what I said. I'm going to do this. And I sang the song. At the end of my show, a passenger came up to me with tears in her eyes. And she said, my husband hasn't held my hand in 10 years. And your song brought us together. And it was like, not just about the girls. It's about the love. It's about the healing. I am no longer that. I'm not a singer anymore. Because I found another thing. When that career was coming to its end, and I knew that it was coming to its end, and I didn't know what the next thing was going to be, and I was like, who am I if I'm not that? And then I found hypnotherapy. Because I realized I can transfer this into that. There's a saying in Spanish called, cada cabeza es un mundo, each head is a world. In my work, I'm changing worlds. And the people come to me saying, something is going on and I don't know what it is. And I'm looking at them and I'm saying, I can help you. I can help you. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what I'm doing now. And what am I going to do? More of that, because the teaching that we've been having here has helped me understand what I've been doing, how I've been doing it, and what I can do to make it better. That's what this is all about for me. That's why becoming a minister is important to me. As I said earlier, I intend to change the world, one world at a time. And my world's going to be better because of it. Because I know the perfection. I see it in the people that come to me. I recognize you don't have a problem. You just think you do. And my job is to help you know the truth about who you are, the truth about what you do, the truth about what you can be, so that you can live that life to the fullest, the life that you really, really want to live. That's what I do. One step at a time. That's my purpose. That's what I teach. That's what I offer. That's what I sell. Namaste.
So, David, while that was very good, it wasn't the assignment because I don't think you mentioned John or the class once, did you?
I did not need to mention that.
Well, you didn't talk about anything he talked about. I mean, the assignment was, what of last week's class inspired you? And now I know what you're probably going to tell me. It was the storytelling, and so you told a story. I get that. So I'll say that, and then say that, however, I thought you were very compelling. The one thing I will say to you is this, and that you're going to, you know what, you're going to get better and better and better in this, because your work really takes you to a desk or a chair, and you do, most of your work is one-on-one. All your work is one-on-one, really. I feel that you have probably what I had, which is the showmanship disease. And sometimes when you get up to give a talk, it sometimes veers into showmanship as opposed to just talking. And I will just tell you, very funny little story. I gave a talk in my ministerial class in my second year, right before we went to orals, and I gave a brilliant talk, I thought. And Dr. Walker said pretty much what I'm saying to you. And I was livid. And he used to give us our cassettes to take home with us to watch again. And so I took it home and instantly made Kevin watch it and said, watch this, you just tell me. And Kevin was like, you're brilliant. That's amazing. Oh my God, David's jealous. Right. And so I hadn't really thought about it much for years until I was so I was teaching ministerial, and I got it because I wanted to show them this great talk I gave. And when I brought it in to show them and say, I just want to show you where I got to after 2 years of ministerial, I watched it. And by the time I'm watching, I hadn't had a chance to watch it before they watched it in class. And we're all watching it. The whole class is watching it. And I'm like, oh my God, he's so right. I was too presentational. I was acting a little bit. I was the showman, and I was doing a good show, and everybody was kind of silent. And I went, all right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. You all hated it, right? And they were like, well, no, but it's not who you are now. So that's a little bit of what I see. And we've talked about it over the last 2 years. So there was a little bit of that tonight, and you're going to get rid of that completely. But it's going to take you to speak more in settings like this, to just more and more and more. And the more comfortable you get, you'll get rid of that, because you could probably give that exact same talk, even with all of the things you did, in a year, or after you've done this so often, and it wouldn't come off like that at all. Does anybody else recognize what I'm talking about? So that's my constructive criticism, and it was a really good talk. Yeah, good. Okay, Helen. Are you awake?
I'm awake. I'm awake. Oh, it's really interesting that the one thing and John Livesey's talk have stirred up over the last 3 or 4 weeks a lot of stuff for me. Like, it cuts deep, right down to where spirit meets the bone. And for me, it's what John's talk illustrated so clearly is the mastery of not only storytelling, but the mastery of knowing who we are as a minister. And for me, 2 years, as a kid in grade 5 and 6, after having been diagnosed with a learning disability, I ended up in these public speaking contests every fall. And every year, the last 2 speakers would be me and this other kid named Ted Dykstra. And he always came in first, and I came in second. And Ted's stories were these elaborate, brilliant, magical stories that he completely acted out. He made them up, and he was so powerful on stage. And he's gone on to be actually a very famous Canadian actor. And I came in second, and my stories were all about my adventures during the summer, which were pretty different from other kids, because my parents had a Greyhound bus that they converted into a camper in the front, and in the back were 3 horse stalls. And we traveled the quarter horse show circuit in Alberta. And then my parents would drop me off at a camp, and a riding camp, horseback riding camp. And my dream was to be a barrel racer. And I don't know if you know what a barrel racer is, but the girls always wore these amazing cowboy hats, and you would race around these 3 barrels. And I loved barrel racing. And so I would talk about how I'd be getting on the horse and I'd be whipping around these barrels, and my hat would go flying off. And then a few days later, my parents would come and pick me up, and we'd have these adventures at horse shows. And my parents were big partiers, so whenever the bus sort of lit up at the front, it said the Shamrock Shanty, and they kind of knew that the party was at our bus. So that's what I talked about during these contests. And I'm a long way from being a barrel racer. But, I also wanted to be an actress and a model and a dancer and a teacher and a mother with multiple sets of twins and triplets. And now I have 1 child, and I'm becoming a minister. And when I look back, I don't think in those, I wanted multiple kids. It was really funny. It was weird. But, when I look back now, I don't think I was ever self-conscious about public speaking. I was self-conscious about sports. I didn't like any kind of sport or any balls being thrown at me. I wasn't one of the in kids. I was pretty much an outcast and a little bit geeky, so I didn't think I really had that likability factor. But when I think back now, storytelling was a really big part of my family, because my dad was a storyteller, and he was a big magnetic personality. He was very handsome. A lot of people, when they look at him, said he looks a lot like Ronald Reagan in his younger days. And he also had an incredible tenor voice. And my brother and I used to say that he should have his own show like Merv Griffin did. I don't know if any of you remember Merv Griffin from the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
He had a talk show and sang. And my mom used to say that would not be a good idea, because my dad would never let anyone get a word in edgewise, because my dad was a 10 talker. Do you know what a 10 talker is? Do you have that saying in the U.S.? A 10 talker is someone who talks a lot and looks really good, is good on TV being an interviewer, and can talk and sort of keep the patter going. So I didn't get the singing voice of my dad, but I did like to tell stories. And the other thing I got from my dad was this incredible love of people, and connecting and sharing and hearing their stories, and really getting to know who they are as people. So where do I go from here in my ministry, taking all of this learning and over the last few weeks, it's been interesting just how much has been stirred up and how much awareness I've had that I need to really stay focused on my vision. Just like John talked about, having that laser focus to get to the end and to really mark my vision. And, you know, over the last while, I mean, I've been very good at staying focused on my vision and manifesting what I want. But it's interesting because I think I've also kind of lost focus. And what I've come to understand is that for me, I feel like I have been helping other people so much focus on their goals and what's important to them versus me focusing on what's important to me as a minister and what does it mean to be a minister. And I had a limiting idea of what that meant. I actually believed that it was working within four walls to, like the center, and that my mission was to expand and grow the teachings within the center. And I thought that's what my calling was. And it's not.
Good. You're up. You're up.
I'm up? I'm up. Okay.
Okay. I thought that was great. I loved your opening. What did you say? Cutting deep. Cutting deep where spirit hits the bone. Yeah, that was great. That was really good. For you, I have to talk about something that you're going to have to learn, which is when you're on a camera like this,
yeah,
you got to look into the camera or else you're not engaging us.
Oh, okay.
When you're looking up,
I'm never sure where the camera is. Like I guess it's the green thing because I'm looking at sort of more.
Looking at the camera right now? No, now you are.
Sure. Now I am.
That's the camera.
Okay.
So when you're talking, if you're going to talk, you know, like we're going to teach a class together this summer, you're going to need to talk to that camera.
Okay. Okay.
Because otherwise, you're looking up and you're not like. Can you see?
I know because I think I'm looking out to you guys, right?
We're all going. Who's she looking at? No, we're not really doing that. But can you see me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're looking up, like if I were going to talk to you like this the whole time, how would that feel?
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's what you're doing. So that's for all.
Thank you.
You're gonna be on in front of your computer talking to people. Be clear what you're doing. Okay. No, I thought you did a good job. I do think you have to take a look at how you can compress your talks so that you stay within a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I feel gypped out of whatever you were going to say after that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're compelling. And I was thinking the same thing when Karen Frost was speaking, and I wasn't sure she was going to get, I don't know why I thought you were going to go long, but I was loving your talk so much, just like I was loving yours. I was like, I hope she puts this all together because I don't want to, I can't say, keep talking, which I couldn't do for you either. So that's important because you really want to, minister, one of our biggest problems, it's not really mine so much, but then again, it's my church who's going to tell me to speak to cut my talk down. But one of our biggest problems is that we can't really condense it into a time frame. People want smaller bites, as John talked about. A 20-minute talk is really as long as you want it to get. Last week, my talk, I think, was like 24 minutes or something. It's amazing how my talks all stay within that 20-minute range, really, mostly. And I don't have a timer and I don't look at the clock. I just kind of know when I've done as much as I should do. So really just think about that. But your story's compelling. I thought it was really, you have such passion and you started great. You made, didn't y'all feel like that opening was like, yeah, that kind of made me interested in where you're going to go with this. So,
okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Terry?
Yes. Wow, you guys are absolutely wonderful. I'm feeling that I really realize why I didn't pass the test. It wasn't just the test, but it's how I compare to you. and I don't like to start out like that, that it's putting myself down, because I'm really not. But I'd like to ask you a question. When was the last time that you were able to boil the ocean, as Jonathan said? What that reminds me of is the one thing. Isn't that what we attempt to do when we don't focus on the one thing? That's clearly what I did for the last 2 years. As I look back at this, there's been a lot of retrospect and looking back at what's happened and why and what for and all that. And I'm really, really okay with it. But I really see what I was not able to do in the 2 years, whether it was speaking or presentation, PowerPoints, remembering, memory, the memory problem. And I really got clear on on what I need to do in my life. While it's not going to be a minister, it certainly has taken me to a new level of being with people. And I have learned a tremendous amount about listening, taking that moment to really listen to what people are saying. And I'm using it in my business. I'm using it in practitioner work. I had a very interesting experience Monday night. I couldn't come to the center, but I worked with someone, and really they were in a very, very bad place because they were in tremendous fear. And I spent an hour with them, and I didn't do a treatment because it wasn't appropriate to do that, but I really got to the point of being able to take that fear and put it into faith. And the thing totally turned around within 24 hours. It was just amazing. It was an absolute miracle how bad it was and how good it got. And just because she changed her attitude about her situation. So I know I have a great gift. While it's not ministry, it's being with people on a one-to-one. That's why I love the opportunity to be in the practitioner and pastoral care and working with people who are making their transition. I enjoyed tremendously being with Randy, and was able to inspire several of the practitioners, and thank you guys that went to be with him. And that really made me feel good inside, and because I know I was making a huge difference in his life. So the other thing about what John talked about is, and I really got in touch with it, I even did some research on it, is he talked about Amazon and how they started out with just 50 employees, and all they sold for several years were just books. And today they have over 222,000 employees. 39,000 were just added last quarter. To put that in perspective, Google only has 61,000. And of course, Barnes & Noble is way down. But they took this experience of really focusing on the one thing and made a major, major difference in it. They even opened they're in the process of opening a beautiful center in Seattle. It's so big that it can grow full-time, growing through, full-grown trees in the office. They even have a dog park on the roof of the center that their employees can use. So they're really bringing this back to the employees. It's in a very expensive area of Seattle. They didn't go for the low-end rent. They went for the whole thing because that's who they are. I had the experience of going to see my brother, who was making his transition a couple months ago in Fort Worth, Texas. They have buildings that are a mile long, if you can imagine. And there's 40 of them throughout the country like that for individual regional areas. I don't want to get into, I'm getting into a lot of this, but the point I'm doing this is that I want you to understand what can come out of that one thing of just selling books. And when they got that nailed down and got it so perfect, they were able to expand into other things with the same process they used for selling books. And look at how successful they are. I remember going down the street, we were going to dinner, and there was trucks lined up for a mile in the middle of the road waiting to get into this facility. It was just unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So I really got in touch with the fact that I need to focus on the one thing. When I was doing the class, I was on a lot of other things, and I was very, very fragmented. I was trying to do life, and I was trying to do business, and I was trying to be perfect at all times. And what I ended up not being, I didn't progress. I actually went back because I was trying to be so perfect and I couldn't get it. So I really got in touch with what John was talking about in the ladder that he talked about, where you start out invisible and then you get to insignificant, and then all of a sudden you get to interesting. And that's where he said he started working with people when they got interesting, and then he got them to intriguing and irresistible. And you guys are all absolutely irresistible. I got to tell you, I am so in awe of this class. I cannot tell you. The consciousness of this class that James has brought along is just unbelievable. The other thing that I saw that I really...
Terry,
Yeah.
that was it. You got it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. One quick thing, that likable thing that he talked about, I got that book, and it is absolutely amazing. You got to get that book. It's just incredible. Talking about being likable.
Which book is that?
I'll get my phone and I'll tell you at the end of the class.
Okay. Let's talk about the positive side of this. There was a calm to you that I actually enjoyed. There was a calm. Now, I don't know if it's a calm because you've kind of made peace with not being a minister, so you weren't trying so hard, but there was just a calm. However, the first question, what did you ask? What was the first thing you asked? The last time.
When was the last time you were able to, when was the last time you were able to boil the ocean?
Okay, so what's the answer to that?
You know what, I didn't follow through with that.
But what is the answer to that question?
You can't. Okay, and that's doing everything, doing fragmenting and trying to do too much.
So I think to ask a question, when was the last time you were able to boil the ocean? I don't think you meant that as the question. I think you meant, when was the last time you caught yourself trying to boil the ocean?
Yeah, okay.
Because if you asked that question, I thought maybe you didn't understand the question itself.
Okay.
Because you can't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, so you left me. So unfortunately, that was the top of your talk, and you left me in a question mark.
Okay.
Okay. So that was one thing. But I did love what you said about your practitioner session on Monday when you said it was just amazing to you how bad it was and how good it got. That's a great little sentence there about our clients. You know, how bad it can be and yet how good it can get. Right. So that was good. And then I thought, I think you couldn't hear it in the room probably, but it was very fascinating to hear some of the things you were telling us about the difference between Amazon and Google. I wouldn't have not thought that Google had had half of the employees as Amazon.
Less than half.
Less than
222,000 to 61,000.
They don't have to mail anything.
Oh yeah, that's true, right? That's a good point. Never mind, Karen just put it in perspective.
What?
No, she said they don't have any goods. They don't have to mail anything anywhere, so they're okay. They don't need all those people.
Yeah, that's true.
But the point you were trying to make, what was the point you were trying to make with Amazon?
Was how big they got by just focusing on the one thing. When they got that nailed down and they got it pat, they used that same process to expand.
Right, but weren't you also trying to make the point that they also were they took care of their employees?
Well, I did say that when I talked about the dog park on the roof, and
you talked about the dog park. You talked about that, but you didn't make your point.
Okay.
So just spend a little more time making your points about these things. But I thought that was didn't you think that was one of the best ones he's given?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
And it was really actually none of the script. It was kind of interesting.
No, it was good, Terry. Really good.
Okay.
You have relaxed.
Authentic. Totally authentic.
Yes. Okay, guys. So you don't get to do my thing. I'm going to have to do it later, which is bad. I'm not telling you what it was because I don't want to do it up. So next week, just no homework. Keep working on your theses. And next week, we will have Rick Tamlin here. And so we will be doing the bigger game workshop. Yeah. Good. Yeah, no, I was, you guys did great tonight, really. Every single one of you. Mariana, I thought you took your notes very, very professionally. Thank you.
No,
So, there's no homework, so that's it. I don't have anything else to say to you. No, great job. Really great job. Ask Connie to give you the, well, you all have the thing for last night's class, Essential Ernest Holmes. You should go.
They're all on the Google Group. I've double checked it and triple checked it. So
I think I checked my spam. I have some weird. I'll check you.
Okay, yeah. Just take a look at it. Fast forward to some things when you see the two, love points the way, law makes it happen. You should look at that and just listen to how that was presented. Right before, if you see me writing on the board, it's the conversation right after that. Yes.
Connie, can you give us the link to this when you get it uploaded? This class? Sure.
Yes, because you should all watch your talks. You should all watch them so you can actually see what the notes meant. Okay. Okay. Karen, do you want to treat us out?
Before you get up there, Karen, the name of the book is The Likability Factor by Tim Sanders.
Okay. Cool.
That was the book that John talked about, and it's absolutely fabulous.
And Terry, you are the lead practitioner on Sunday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what your power talk has to be about? It has to be in alignment with the unlimited. Okay, I'm going to talk about the I am, and Karen's going to do a song before. You're going to talk about the I am. Is that going to? But it has. I'll tie it in. Okay, but I'm looking. I don't teach a class or anything. It's just you give a little personal story about your unlimited experiences, and that's how our month is going. Okay. Okay. Good.
All right.
Okay.
So let's start
Zoom in.
with focusing on the idea of silence. Experiencing the silence. Remembering that this is the secret for everything, not just for the perfect talk, but it's the secret for listening to that inner guiding light that is within all of us, that unlimited, powerful potential that creates our perfect experience, but also links us together, that makes us all that one thing. So in this moment of remembrance of the silence, of the oneness, of who and what we are, I know that everything that has unfolded over the course of this class is divine, reminds us further of who we are, allows us to communicate that idea of oneness even clearer and crisper than we ever have before. And all of these reflections, all of these moments of this is the best you've ever done, is an expression of the fact that we have decided not only to recognize that we are one, but to learn how to apply these principles to our lives, to our speaking, to our writing, to everything that we're doing, and hone and tailor and recognize that it is all one thing, living from this place of consciousness, truth, oneness. So I'm so grateful to have participated in this. I'm so grateful to be where I am in this moment, and grateful to be surrounded by people who made this decision to stand in oneness, to be better, to be bigger, to have appreciation for the silence, for the gratitude, for the progress, but also not forgetting about the perfection, not forgetting that perfection is what we are. So I know that as everything that has unfolded allows us to be bigger, brighter, and more perfect than we've ever been. And I'm so grateful to know this. As I release my word, knowing it's done, together we all say.
And so it is. Great. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, have a lovely evening.
Good night, everybody. Thank
Good night,
you.
Thank you for staying awake.
Good night.
Good
Oh,
night.
Karen. Good night, Karen. Oh, yeah.
Good
you're over here.
Good night, Terry.
Good night, Terry.
Good night.
Good night, Mary Ellen.
See you Sunday morning, David Allen Cruz, to sing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are you singing Sunday morning? What are you singing?
That one song, the new song, with Spanish lyrics.
Is he singing part of your song?
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh, cool. That's exciting.
It's gonna
Okay,
be great.
my keys had to be put somewhere in this room because I had to come in here with keys because I locked my office. I thought. Well, maybe I
What's gonna
didn't.
happen is you're gonna give me those back correctly, and then
We're
I'm
back
gonna
from
put them together and send them to.
Did you call them too?
Because he needs to have a list.
Maybe
of
some
those.
Sunday we'll just go to brunch out there to Joffrey's and we'll just break in.
Jeffrey's is so wonderful.
Angela, what?
From,
Emerson?